Chapter 1436. Whoosh! Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in front of the white-robed young man. He then threw a kick at him. Bang! The white-robed young man's protective true energy and domain were shattered by Lu Ming's kick. Suddenly, countless rays of light shot toward the white-robed young man. The white-robed young man tried his best to defend himself. Fortunately, he had an innate spiritual body and had evolved into an inferior earth spiritual body. He managed to survive after a hole was made in his body. However, Lu Ming charged toward him again. Bang! Lu Ming reached out his claw and pierced through the white-robed young man's domain. He then grabbed the white-robed young man's neck and almost shattered his true energy. Naturally, his true yuan and domain disappeared without a trace. Help! The white-robed young man screamed in fear as countless rays of black light shot toward him. Lu Ming activated his chaotic domain and covered the white-robed young man, blocking the rays of black light. The white-robed young man took a deep breath and said, "Lu Ming, let me go. My uncle is an elder of the Heavenly God sect. If you kill me, nonsense." Lu Ming shouted coldly as a murderous intent burst out from his body. The white-robed young man swallowed his words. "Tell me, who sent you to kill me?" Lu Ming said coldly. It's, the white-robed young man was about to answer when a voice came from the other side. "You better let him go." A few young men walked out from the passage. The young man leading the group was tall and slender. His eyes were bright like a deity and his aura was intimidating. The aura of the second layer martial royal realm spread out from his body. There were two other young men behind the young man. They were both at the peak of the first layer martial royal realm. Their domains covered the area and the rays of black light could not harm them. "That's the leader of the Heavenly God sect, Shi Tian." Some people passed by and whispered to each other. They then rushed forward and left the place. "Senior brother Shi Tian, save me." The white-robed young man screamed when he saw Shi Tian. "Brat, quickly release me. Otherwise, senior brother Shi Tian will definitely put you in a life and death situation." Then, the white-robed young man scolded Lu Ming again, his arrogance rising again. "Really?" Lu Ming sneered. He lifted the white-robed youth and sent him out of the range of the domain. Instantly, 7 or 8 black beams of light pierced through the white-robed youth's body, causing him to bleed profusely. He let out a miserable scream. "Brat, you're courting death. How dare you!" Behind Shi Tian, the two youths berated. Boom! Shi Tian stepped forward. His powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming as he said coldly, "I said, let him go." His tone carried an air of superiority as he ordered Lu Ming. "Who do you think you are? Furthermore, this person has ambushed me time and time again. He is dead for sure." Lu Ming said coldly. Shi Tian's eyes were dark as he said, "If you kill him, I'll definitely kill you." "Really?" Lu Ming wore a ferocious expression on his face as the murderous intent on his body grew colder. "No." The white-robed young man retreated in horror. Boom! The power in Lu Ming's hand suddenly erupted and drowned the white-robed young man. Under Lu Ming's terrifying power, the white-robed young man's body was smashed into pieces. Die! At this moment, Shi Tian's murderous intent exploded. His body was bathed in a sacred radiance. He took a step forward and the void rumbled. Shi Tian raised his hand and pressed down. A huge sacred palm pressed down on Lu Ming. "Petty tricks." Lu Ming sneered. He also took a step forward and threw out a palm. A chaotic palm blasted out and faced Shi Tian head-on. The two palms collided with each other, resulting in a brilliant explosion. A shockwave spread out from the collision, shattering the pitch-black light in the surroundings. Bam! In the next moment, Shi Tian's sacred palm print collapsed. The chaotic palm print did not stop as it continued to attack Shi Tian. Shi Tian's expression changed. The sacred radiance on his body became even brighter and a long spear appeared in his hand. Spear of divine punishment. Shi Tian shouted softly. The sacred spear cut through the void, seemingly able to penetrate everything in the world. It pierced toward Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. Shi Tian's cultivation had reached the second realm of the martial royal realm, and he had cultivated a medium earth spiritual body. His battle strength was shocking, and he was on the same level as He Yu, Wang Xiao, and Luo Xiang. Among the geniuses who had entered the great emperor mystic realm, he stood at the peak. Not many people could withstand this move of his. However, he met Lu Ming. The chaotic domain covered him. Lu Ming used the suppressing hell skill and punched out. The suppressing hell monument's shadow flashed on his fist, and it directly hit the tip of the sacred spear. Dang! A deafening sound rang out. Shi Tian's sacred spear trembled violently. A terrifying power flowed through the spear and into Shi Tian's arm, causing his body to tremble. Bam! In the next moment, the sacred spear exploded. Shi Tian's body shook and he retreated a few hundred meters. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. How can this be? The other two youths were dumbfounded. Even Shi Tian's battle strength was not Lu Ming's match. How could this be possible? Let's go. Shi Tian did not say a word and turned to leave. You think you can come and go as you wish? How can it be so easy? Lu Ming said coldly. He stepped forward and activated the wind origin technique. He instantly closed in on Shi Tian. A terrifying fist force blasted towards Shi Tian. Shi Tian roared angrily and used all his strength to fight Lu Ming. However, although he was strong, he was still inferior to Lu Ming. In less than 10 moves, he was beaten by Lu Ming until he vomited blood. Senior Shi Tian, we will avenge you. When the other youth saw this scene, he was so frightened that he left behind a sentence and charged forward with all his might, escaping without a trace. Hee, these are your senior and junior brothers? Lu Ming mocked. Shi Tian roared angrily and tried his best to resist. However, under Lu Ming's chaotic domain, he was forced to retreat. Die. Lu Ming's punch broke through Shi Tian's defense and was about to kill him. At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from Shi Tian's body. A shadow appeared on Shi Tian's body and an invisible force burst out. This is, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. This force was very similar to the light sword that Lu Ming faced in the sword pagoda. That was the same level of power. Bang! Lu Ming was hit by this force and his body flew backward. Lu Ming, I will definitely kill you next time. Shi Tian left behind a sentence and rushed into the depths of the passage. It turns out that Shi Tian has also obtained an inheritance. Lu Ming frowned. Shi Tian should have also obtained an inheritance. As he had just obtained the inheritance and had not refined it, this inheritance had the function of automatically protecting its owner. If it was refined, this function would disappear. Next time, if the inheritance cannot protect its owner, I will definitely kill you. A sharp light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Lu Ming, are you all right? Qiao Yingying stepped forward and asked. I'm fine. Let's go. Chapter 1437. They continued to move forward. Although the black light in this passage was very powerful, it was mainly a threat to supremes or some weak emperors. The stronger ones could still block it. The three of them walked for another 1,000 miles or so and finally reached the end. The passage disappeared. In front of them was a flat land, but it was filled with gray fog. The fog drifted, greatly affecting one's vision. Some of the young men rushed into the mist and disappeared. Lu Ming and the other two did not hesitate and rushed into the fog. The fog was quiet. There was no sound at all, as if there were no living creatures. It was dead silent. Vaguely, only the heartbeats of the three people could be heard. However, after walking for a while, only one of the three people's heartbeats could be heard. Lu Ming turned his head and saw that Xiao Yingying and Xiao Hao had disappeared. What's going on? Just a moment ago, Xiao Yingying and Xiao Hao had been following behind him. Why did they suddenly disappear? Yingying, brother Qiu. Lu Ming called out. His voice spread far and wide, but there was no response. Lu Ming searched for a while, but he did not see anyone. Just now, many young men had rushed in, but now, he did not see anyone. Could it be a formation? No, it's not a formation, Lu Ming observed carefully. There was no formation here at all. This area is very strange. It can affect one's senses. Perhaps they're not far away from me, but we're ignoring each other. Lu Ming thought to himself. There were many wonderful places in the world. No one had set up a formation, but they had functions that were even more mysterious than a formation. It seems that we can only meet up after walking out of this area. Thinking of this, Lu Ming determined the direction and walked straight ahead. However, not long after, Lu Ming stopped. He found that there was an invisible energy around him that was seeping into his body and slowly attacking his soul. Yes, there was an invisible energy here that could attack his soul. Even his primal chaos domain could not defend against it. Luckily, Lu Ming's soul had been refined inside the World Alchemy Calamity Bell when he was overcoming the Martial Dominator Tribulation, allowing him to strengthen his soul by more than 10 times. The attack was nothing to Lu Ming. Lu Ming ignored him and continued forward. Along the way, he noticed that there were many craters on the ground. Some of the craters looked like palm prints. Could it be that in the distant past, there was a great battle here? Lu Ming guessed. Bang! Lu Ming punched the ground, but the ground didn't move at all. There wasn't a single mark. So hard. Lu Ming sucked in a breath of cold air. The ground here was made from a kind of strange metal. It was tough and indestructible. Even with Lu Ming's strength, he couldn't leave a single mark on it. The thing that left the craters on the ground was definitely a terrifying existence. As Lu Ming continued forward, he found that the energy attacking his soul was getting stronger. Although it was nothing to Lu Ming's current soul strength, it was definitely a great challenge for the other geniuses. There's a strong fluctuation ahead. Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He found that there was a strong fluctuation coming from ahead. It seemed like there was an expert cultivating ahead. Lu Ming hesitated for a moment. He withdrew his aura and decided to go forward to take a look. Soon, a giant object appeared ahead. It was an eagle, a giant eagle. It was covered in golden feathers and was as big as a mountain. That kind of fluctuation was coming from this giant eagle. However, the giant golden eagle was obviously dead. There was no sign of life on it. However, the fluctuation was indeed terrifying. The closer he got, the scarier Lu Ming felt. The aura of a Saint Realm expert. Moreover, the fluctuation is more profound than that of an ordinary Saint Realm expert. Lu Ming thought. Lu Ming had sensed the aura of a heavenly mystic saint and the aura of Dragon God Valley's Elder Hong. However, they were nothing compared to this giant golden eagle. This giant golden eagle was definitely not just a bright saint, but a great saint or absolute saint when it was alive. There's a word. Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He found that there was a word under one of the giant golden eagle's wings. It was the word evil. Evil. What did it mean? Lu Ming didn't know. Moreover, Lu Ming didn't see any wounds around the giant eagle's body. He didn't know how it died. I wonder if I can keep this giant eagle. It's full of treasures. Lu Ming thought. He took out a higher quality storage ring and activated his true yuan. He let the storage ring fly above the giant eagle. A gravitational force was generated from the storage ring. To Lu Ming's surprise, Lu Ming easily put away the giant eagle's body. I've made a fortune. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He put away the storage ring and continued forward. This area was dead silent. It was as if Lu Ming was the only one in this vast world. This feeling would drive one crazy if one stayed here for too long. Moreover, there was an invisible energy that kept seeping into Lu Ming's body and attacking his soul. After walking for a long time, when Lu Ming took a step forward, the environment around him changed drastically. The fog disappeared and Lu Ming came to a platform. One step away, so close yet so far away. He walked out of the fog just like that. Voices came from ahead. Lu Ming looked and found that many people had gathered here. Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao. Lu Ming saw the two of them at a glance. Lu Ming. The two of them saw Lu Ming and walked over happily. When did you pass through the fog? Lu Ming asked. We just arrived a while ago, Qiu Yingying explained. The two of them had encountered the same thing as Lu Ming. After walking into the fog, they were separated from the others. It was as if they were the only ones left in the world. There was also the energy that attacked the soul. They gritted their teeth and walked forward. They did not expect to pass through the fog so smoothly. However, they were different from Lu Ming. Lu Ming touched the giant eagle's body, but they did not touch anything. Lu Ming. At this moment, a deep voice was heard. 3 young men walked over and greeted Lu Ming. It was the 3 Yuan brothers. The 3 Yuan brothers were telepathic. When they joined forces, their strength was not weak. After entering the Great Emperor Mystic Realm, they had successfully broken through to the Martial Emperor Realm. It was not strange for them to come here. What's going on in front? Lu Ming's gaze looked ahead. Many people stopped in front of him. It seemed that they were blocked. There's an abyss in front. It's blocking the way. Qiu Yingying explained. Lu Ming walked closer to take a look. It was indeed an abyss that was 100 miles wide. There was a terrifying devouring force under the abyss. Once a person flew into the abyss, they would be swallowed and fall into the abyss. No one could escape. Chapter 1438. Lu Ming walked forward and found a stone bridge. This stone bridge led to the other side of the abyss. That's the Heavenly Path Stone. Lu Ming's pupils suddenly constricted, revealing a look of shock. That was because the stone bridge was covered with Heavenly Path stones. At a glance, he did not know how many of them there were. Countless Heavenly Path stones formed a stone bridge that was 100 miles long, leading to the other side of the abyss. Heavens, how many Heavenly Path stones were there? His heart twitched violently. Was this the work of a arch? It was too shocking. The Heavenly Path stones on the stone bridge can't be dug out at all. Someone tried before, but he was knocked down into the abyss. The eldest of the 3 Yuan brothers, Yuan Tian, explained. Lu Ming nodded. He had guessed that. Otherwise, with so many Heavenly Path stones in front of them, this place would have been flooded with blood. Many young people gathered at the head of the bridge, looking at the stone bridge with worried faces. Someone is on the bridge again. Qiu Yingying whispered. At the head of the bridge, a young man stepped on the stone bridge. When he stepped on the stone bridge, his body trembled slightly as if he was under a terrifying pressure, but he gritted his teeth and continued forward. After a while, his body suddenly trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face turned pale. He hurriedly retreated from the stone bridge and let out a long breath. It still doesn't work. The young man sighed. Humph, what a piece of trash. Let me do it. A cold voice sounded. A young man walked out of the crowd and stepped on the stone bridge. Wang Xiao. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Wang Xiao's body emitted a sharp aura, like a sharp divine sword that could cut through everything. He walked forward step by step at a very fast speed. Soon, he had crossed more than half the distance. After crossing more than half the distance, he gradually slowed down, but it did not take long for him to cross the 100-mile stone bridge and disappear from everyone's sight. A leader is indeed powerful. Only prodigies with at least an inferior earth spirit body can cross this stone bridge. The heavenly path chi on it is too powerful. Many people sighed. It's because of the heavenly path chi. Lu Ming thought to himself. There were too many heavenly path stones on the stone bridge. The heavenly path chi on the stone bridge was definitely terrifying. The heavenly path chi was very useful for martial artists and inscriptionists. It could be used to comprehend the path and improve one's cultivation. However, this was referring to the heavenly Tao aura. Within a certain range of concentration, if the heavenly Tao aura was too concentrated, not only would it not be beneficial, it would instead be harmful. The powerful heavenly Tao aura could crush people to death. Damn it, it wasn't easy for me to enter the Grey Emperor's palace. Could it be that I'm going to be blocked by a stone bridge just like that? But now, their path was blocked by a stone bridge. They were truly unwilling to accept this. More and more people tried, but most of them failed. Some tried to force their way through, but they were crushed to death and fell into the endless abyss. I'll give it a try. Lu Ming stepped forward. Qiu Yingying, Wan Tian, and the others did not stop him. They knew how strong Lu Ming was. The stone bridge could not do anything to Lu Ming. Lu Ming stepped forward and covered his body with the primal chaos domain. What a rich heavenly path chi. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. The heavenly path chi here was too strong. It was many times stronger than the heavenly path marks that Lu Ming had faced before. This strength was far beyond what they could bear. Not only could they not comprehend the path, but there was also a strong pressure on his body. This was the pressure of the heavenly path. However, Lu Ming's primal chaos domain shook, and the heavenly path chi disappeared without a trace. Everything in the world comes from the primal chaos domain. The primal chaos domain is the emperor of thousands of domains. The heavenly path chi is useless against the primal chaos domain. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. Then, he continued forward. The stone bridge was very narrow, only allowing one person to pass. Lu Ming strode forward and soon crossed half of the bridge. However, at this time, Lu Ming suddenly turned around and went back the way he came. What's that guy doing? I saw that he was relaxed just now. I thought he would be able to pass. Why is he going back now? It didn't mean anything at the beginning. Maybe he was relaxed because he was going all out. It's normal for him to be tired now. That's true. After all, this stone bridge is not something that anyone can cross. Lu Ming's actions caused some people to discuss. Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, and the others were also surprised. Based on their understanding of Lu Ming, with Lu Ming's strength, it should not be a problem for him to cross the stone bridge. Why did he go back the way he came? Soon, Lu Ming reached the end of the bridge. Yingying, brother Qiu, come up. I'll bring you over. Lu Ming said. What? Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, and the 3 Yuan brothers were stunned. The others were also stunned. Lu Ming was going to bring someone over? How was that possible? It was difficult for others to cross alone. Even a prodigy like Wang Xiao had difficulty crossing the second half of the bridge. Now, Lu Ming said that he was going to bring someone over. It was unbelievable. Yingying, Lu Ming called again. Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao finally reacted. Okay. Qiu Yingying was the first to step forward. She walked in front of Lu Ming, and Qiu Hao stood behind Lu Ming. Stepping on the stone bridge meant that one's life was in danger, but they chose to believe in Lu Ming. Along the way, Lu Ming had brought them too many miracles. Brother Wan, I'll send Yingying and the others over first. I'll find you later. Lu Ming said to Wan Tian. Okay. Wan Tian nodded in a daze. Let's go. The chaotic domain enveloped Qiu Yingying and Qiu Hao as the 3 of them stepped onto the stone bridge. Although the chaotic domain was magical, it was only level 1 now. Moreover, the stone bridge was very narrow and could only accommodate one person. Therefore, Lu Ming could not bring too many people at once. He could only bring 2 or 3 people. Therefore, he planned to send the 3 or 1 brothers over after sending Qiu Yingying and the others over. Everyone looked at Lu Ming. Some people sneered, thinking that Lu Ming would play with fire and burn himself. Lu Ming and the other 2 stepped onto the stone bridge. The powerful heavenly path aura outside pressed down on the chaotic domain, causing it to tremble. However, it resisted in the end. The 3 of them walked forward step by step. Soon, they surpassed the distance Lu Ming had walked and continued forward. Soon, the 3 of them successfully reached the other side. He did it. This person can actually bring people over. Unbelievable. This person must have some kind of treasure that can resist the heavenly path aura. Chapter 1439. Look, he's back. Someone shouted. In front of the stone bridge, a figure stepped forward. It was Lu Ming. Soon, Lu Ming returned to the starting point. Whoosh! A figure appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was a young man with fiery eyes. Brat, bring me over now. This young man was the one who sneered the most, thinking that Lu Ming would die on the bridge. Now that he saw that Lu Ming could really bring people over, he was the first to rush forward. Me too, bring me over. Bring me. One by one, the young men stepped forward and surrounded Lu Ming. I'm not free. Lu Ming glanced around indifferently. What do you mean by that? Not free? Today, even if you're not free, you have to be free. If you don't bring me over, don't go over yourself today. The young man who spoke first had a cold expression on his face. A cold aura locked onto Lu Ming. The others also had unfriendly expressions. Indeed, you want to go over and get the great emperor's treasure. How dare you leave us here? Someone spoke, which almost made Lu Ming laugh. You don't have the ability to go over, yet you're blaming Lu Ming. If you can't get it, you can't let Lu Ming get it either. Get lost. Lu Ming roared. A terrifying shockwave spread out in all directions. Some of the weaker cultivators couldn't help but retreat. Everyone, let's join forces. With so many of us, we can take him down. Let's control him and let him send us over one by one. The young man who spoke first yelled. Boom! 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 Auras burst out. There were at least a few hundred people present. Each of them stared at Lu Ming with unfriendly eyes. Their auras suppressed Lu Ming. How can you people be like this? How can you force us to bring him or not? Lu Ming, don't worry about us. You cross the bridge first. Yuan Tian's deep voice resounded. Brat, surrender obediently. If you cross the bridge alone, your friends will fall into the endless abyss. The young man who spoke first said coldly. Hee hee. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He looked at the young man and said, You brought this upon yourself. As soon as his voice fell, Lu Ming's figure moved and appeared in front of the young man. The young man's face fell, and he wanted to retreat, but Lu Ming waved his hand, and his primal chaos domain spread out, forming a giant primal chaos hand that crushed the young man's defenses and grabbed him. Let go of me. What are you doing? Let me warn you, my senior brother is the leader of the Heaven King Palace. The young man shouted, threatening Lu Ming. I'll send you down to the abyss to play. Lu Ming sneered. You dare? Everyone, let's attack together and take him down. The young man roared loudly, encouraging the others. Put him down. You're courting death. More than 10 people roared as they charged at Lu Ming. More than 10 attacks fell on Lu Ming. Lightning element technique. Lu Ming transformed his primal chaos domain into a lightning domain and executed the lightning element technique. 10 lightning spears appeared in the air and pierced through the air. Puff! Puff! More than 10 young men were penetrated by the lightning spears and died on the spot. killing more than 10 first-layer martial dominator realm cultivators with a single attack, causing the others to be dumbfounded. They finally realized that not only was Lu Ming able to cross the bridge by himself, he was also able to bring people over with him. After killing more than 10 young men as an example, the others did not dare to attack. Lu Ming grabbed the young man's hand and pulled him out of the abyss. No, the young man screamed as he stared at the abyss below him. I'll send you down, Lu Ming said coldly as he reached out his hand. The young man was immediately devoured by the devouring force of the abyss and fell into the abyss. Only cries of agony could be heard. Who else wants to go down? I don't mind sending you on your way. Lu Ming scanned the crowd. No one dared to make a sound. Lu Ming's combat strength was more than enough to crush them. Brother Wan, let's get on the bridge, Lu Ming said. The three Wan brothers nodded. They stood in a row with Lu Ming and moved forward. Soon, they crossed the stone bridge. In front of the stone bridge was a stone wall that blocked the way. The stone wall was indestructible and could not be broken. There was a light door on the stone wall. It was the only way out. Those who had crossed the bridge had obviously left through this light door. Let's go in, Lu Ming said. Everyone nodded and stepped into the light door together. The space trembled. In the next moment, Lu Ming arrived in a stone room. Lu Ming looked around and found that he was the only one in the stone room. Qiu Yingying and the others were nowhere to be seen. It seemed that the door was a teleportation portal. They had been teleported here and scattered. Whoosh! Suddenly, Lu Ming felt a sharp qi slashing at Lu Ming. Without the slightest hesitation, Lu Ming took a step back and retreated rapidly. However, the sharp qi was also shockingly fast. It followed Lu Ming and slashed at him. What's that? Lu Ming frowned. He could only vaguely see a black light slashing at him. As for what it was too fast for him to see clearly. Get lost, Lu Ming yelled and threw a punch at him. Clang! The sound of metal clashing was heard. Lu Ming's violent fist force crushed forward and finally repelled the thing that was slashing at him. At this moment, Lu Ming finally saw what attacked him. A pair of wings. A pair of black wings. They were not the wings of a monster but made of strange metal. Every single feather on the wings was black and shiny. They were filled with sharpness, like sharp divine swords. Lu Ming thought of Hai Pengtian from the continent of divine ruins. Hai Pengtian also had a pair of wings, which was an emperor's spiritual weapon. However, that pair of wings was trash compared to the one in front of him. The pair in front of him was a divine weapon. Lu Ming took a liking to her at first glance. I'm lucky to encounter a divine weapon as soon as I teleported here. Lu Ming smiled. He stepped forward and pounced at the black wings. He reached out his hand and was about to grab the black wings. Whoosh! The black wings spread open and slashed at Lu Ming like two divine swords. They were extremely sharp. Lu Ming punched and used the heaven-suppressing hell skill. He covered it with the chaotic field and bombarded the wings. With a clang, the wings were sent flying again. Whoosh! After the wings were sent flying, they flapped and tried to escape. You have some intelligence. However, you can't escape from me. Lu Ming pressed forward with one hand. The chaotic field exploded and covered the entire stone room. No matter how the black wings flew, they could not escape from the chaotic field. Shrink! The chaotic field began to shrink and finally trapped the black wings. Refine! Then, Lu Ming's ethereal force surged into the black wings and began to refine them. Chapter 1440. So it's the sacred weapon of Ming. Black wings. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The sacred weapon of Ming was Ming Xing's personal weapon. Above that, there were great sacred weapons and absolute sacred weapons. After that round of refinement, Lu Ming had only grasped the basics of this winged sacred weapon. With his current cultivation, it was impossible for him to completely refine it. He could only slowly refine it in the future and deepen his grasp of the black wings. With a toss of the black wings automatically flew behind Lu Ming and sank into Lu Ming's back. The next moment, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Whoosh! On his back, the black wings spread out, making Lu Ming look as if he had grown a pair of wings out of thin air. Swoosh! With a flap of the black wings, Lu Ming's figure disappeared from the spot at an astonishing speed. Lu Ming circled around the stone room dozens of times before returning to his original spot. Not bad. Lu Ming was very satisfied with the black wings. He had the black wings. If combined with the wind origin technique and the air frozen bead, his speed would definitely be greatly increased. At the same time, the black wings also had a powerful attack power. Moreover, the wings could wrap around the entire body and had a powerful defensive ability. This sacred weapon could be said to be one of the few sacred weapons with all kinds of functions. If sold, the price would be more than 10 times more expensive than other sacred weapons of the same level. With a thought, the black wings retracted and sank into his skin, disappearing. Next, Lu Ming looked around. Apart from the black wings and the passageway in front of him, there was nothing else in this stone room. Lu Ming stepped forward and walked towards the passageway. Caw! Suddenly, there was a cry. At the entrance of the passageway, a huge black goshawk suddenly appeared and swooped towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's expression changed. This goshawk was of course not real. It was condensed from some kind of energy. More importantly, it appeared too suddenly. Lu Ming subconsciously retreated rapidly. However, he found that the goshawk did not chase after him. Instead, it floated in the air and looked at Lu Ming. Young man, go back. Don't continue forward. Otherwise, there will be a great disaster. The goshawk suddenly spoke. Who are you? Lu Ming asked. It doesn't matter who I am. Go back, there's no road ahead. The goshawk spoke again. Disaster? No path? I don't believe it. If I don't try, how will I know that there is no path? Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. Along the way, they had encountered so many obstacles. How could Lu Ming be blocked by a goshawk? The goshawk seemed to sigh, then it flapped its wings and pounced on Lu Ming. Boom! Lu Ming activated his primal chaos domain and punched out. The violent fist force crushed out, causing the stone room to rumble and shake. This is primal chaos domain? Goshawk cried out in surprise. Then, it flapped its wings rapidly and a terrifying gale swept out. The gale collided with Lu Ming's fist, creating bursts of explosive sounds. Finally, the gale disappeared, and Lu Ming could not help but retreat a few steps. What a powerful force. Lu Ming's face turned solemn. It seems that I can't do it without using my full strength. Lu Ming thought to himself. However, at this moment, something strange happened. Suddenly, another figure appeared in the void. It was a black shadow shrouded in black light, and its specific appearance could not be seen clearly. As soon as it appeared, it pounced on the goshawk. The black shadow and the goshawk engaged in an intense battle. Young man, I'll hold him back. You go over. An old voice came from the black shadow. It sounded gentle and comfortable. Don't go over. You have to hear me, the goshawk shouted. Boom! The black shadow pounced on the goshawk and launched an even more violent attack. The battle was intense. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. What was going on with the goshawk and the black shadow? Was it a checkpoint here? Or a test? Why did one let him go over and the other not? Maybe it's just a test. I'll pass. Lu Ming made up his mind. Since he had already come this far, it was impossible for Lu Ming to give up and leave just because of a few words from a goshawk. Whoosh! Lu Ming activated the wind origin technique and the power of the air-frozen bead surged. Taking advantage of the gap between the goshawk and the black shadow, his figure flashed and rushed into the passage and disappeared. Boom! The goshawk and the black shadow exchanged a blow and both retreated. Sigh. The goshawk looked at Lu Ming's back and sighed. Hee, Emperor Tsang, it's impossible for you to stop them. You've lost this round. A cold and harsh laughter came from the black shadow. It was completely different from the gentle voice just now. However, Lu Ming could no longer hear those words. He walked along the passage and soon, light appeared in front of him. He had reached the end of the passage. Clang! Boom! In front of him, there was a violent explosion and the sound of metal colliding. Someone was fighting. Lu Ming slowed down and rushed over from the entrance of the passage. Whoosh! As soon as Lu Ming rushed out, he saw a small black flag flying toward him. There was demonic chi on the small flag. Emperor-level spiritual weapon, ownerless. Lu Ming thought. Get lost. Suddenly, there was a loud roar in front of him. It was very domineering. A huge palm that was completely formed by demonic chi grabbed at Lu Ming and the small flag. Humph. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He threw a punch and the huge palm exploded. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the small black flag in his hand. Kid, how dare you stop me? A domineering voice sounded. In front of Lu Ming, a young man looked at him coldly and his body was full of demonic chi. This is, Lu Ming glanced at the young man and skipped over him, looking elsewhere. It was a huge hall that was incomparably spacious. In the void, there were beams of treasure light flying around. Among them, there were many young men chasing after these beams of treasure light. Emperor-level spiritual weapons, and even sacred weapons. Lu Ming was astounded. Most of the treasures flying in the air were ruler-level spiritual weapons, and there were more than 100 of them. Among them, there were also saint weapons and even medicinal pills. More than 10 young men were flying in the air, chasing after the treasures. Occasionally, they would even fight one another because of the treasures. How powerful! Lu Ming discovered that these young men possessed powerful cultivations. They were all second-layer martial dominators. Lu Ming saw a few familiar faces among them. The leader of the Dragon God Valley, Hiyu, the leader of the Nine Heavens Sword Sect, Wang Shao, the leader of the Heavenly God Sect, Shi Tian, the leader of the Sword of Life and Death Sect, Luo Xiang. They were the leaders of their respective sections. Indeed, those who were able to make it here were extremely powerful. Kid, how dare you ignore me? In front of Lu Ming, the young man with a strong demonic chi pointed his finger at Lu Ming. A black finger that looked like the finger of a demon pierced through the void and stabbed in Lu Ming's direction with a terrifying might. If the finger were to hit, Lu Ming would die for sure. Such a domineering person, trying to take someone's life. Lu Ming's expression became cold as he threw out a punch. Bang! Chapter 1441. Break for me. A sinister look flashed across the eyes of the demonic youth, but in the next moment, his expression changed drastically. He could feel a terrifying power coming from his finger. This power was like an avalanche, like an ancient divine mountain crashing into his finger. Crack. His finger made a cracking sound as it was deformed. He roared and retreated rapidly, taking more than 10 steps back as he looked at Lu Ming with a sinister expression. In the previous move, Lu Ming had broken his finger bone with a punch. After taking a look at Lu Ming, there was a trace of graveness in this person's eyes. He did not continue to attack. Instead, his figure swayed and he dashed toward an Emperor-level spirit weapon combat sword. His domain spread out and shrouded the Emperor-level spirit weapon combat sword. Suppress. At this moment, Lu Ming also made his move. With a wave of his hand, the chaotic domain spread out and suppressed the 2 Emperor-level combat weapons. Then, he put them away. Is this a treasure trove? Lu Ming looked around and saw the light flying in the sky. A thought flashed across Lu Ming's mind. In the next moment, Lu Ming made his move again without hesitation. There were more than 10 youths present, and each of them had a strong cultivation. If he continued to delay, he would not have a share. Whoosh! Whoosh! More than 10 youths made their moves at an extremely fast speed. There were fewer and fewer lights flying in the sky as they put away the Emperor-level combat weapons. In a short time, Lu Ming had obtained 8 Emperor-level combat weapons. Get lost! Boom! In the sky, there were more people fighting. 2 youths were fighting over a saint weapon. However, the 2 of them were wary of each other. When they saw the saint weapon flying away, they stopped and chased after the saint weapon. Soon, the Emperor-level combat weapons were almost all collected. There were only a few saint weapons left in the sky and a few jade boxes flying in the sky. Those jade boxes were the fastest. They were like bolts of lightning that streaked across the sky. It was difficult to stop them. Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure soared into the sky and pounced on a saint weapon. This sacred weapon was a jade bracelet filled with dense devil qi. Lu Ming thought of Xian Yanqing. This jade bracelet was very suitable for Xian Yanqing. Scram! Lu Ming wasn't the only one who was interested in this jade bracelet. There were 2 other youths as well. One of them was the demonic youth who had attacked Lu Ming before. The other person was dressed in a green robe and had an evil smile on his face. The green-robed youth made a grabbing motion with his hand, and streams of green mist spread toward Lu Ming. As soon as the fog appeared, a disgusting smell filled the air. Poison gas. This poisonous gas was extremely poisonous. However, what Lu Ming was least afraid of was lethal poison. The power of devouring enveloped Lu Ming's entire body. Ignoring the green mist, Lu Ming charged through it and sent a palm strike at the green-robed youth. The green-robed youth didn't expect Lu Ming to completely ignore the poisonous gas. His expression changed. He waved his hand and a swarm of poisonous insects appeared in front of him. The poisonous insects formed a shield in front of him. Lu Ming's palm struck down and a large number of poisonous insects exploded. The green-robed youth trembled and retreated dozens of meters. Bam! Then, Lu Ming's leg was like a steel whip, sweeping toward the young man with a sinister demonic aura, forcing him to retreat. Lu Ming's right hand grabbed the jade bracelet. Buzz buzz. The jade bracelet in Lu Ming's hand was still vibrating non-stop. What a strong spirituality. Lu Ming was delighted. The stronger the spirituality of a sacred weapon, the higher the grade and the more precious it was. For example, Lu Ming's lightning cauldron and air-frozen pearl were definitely extraordinary. Hand over the sacred weapon and I'll spare your life. The green-robed youth said and stared coldly at Lu Ming. If you want to die, come here. Lu Ming's simple reply was extremely domineering. The green-robed youth's face was gloomy and cold, killing intent emanated from his body. He was one of the 13 top forces that had entered the Great Emperor's mystic realm, the leader of the Desire Poison sect. He was very strong and was good at using poison. Even the leaders of the other sects were wary of him. Now, Lu Ming actually dared to speak to him in such a manner. Courting death. In his heart, he had already sentenced Lu Ming to death. 10,000 poisons massacre. The young man in the green robe shouted coldly. His figure moved and he pounced on Lu Ming. He waved his palm and densely packed poisonous insects appeared. These poisonous insects had hard carapaces on their bodies and they constantly spurted poisonous gas from their mouths. Moreover, what was even more amazing was that these poisonous insects could actually combine. Countless poisonous insects formed a combat weapon and charged at Lu Ming. In the air, more than 10 combat weapons appeared. They were all made of poisonous insects. Some were swords, some were sabers. The similarity was that all of them were filled with poison. Devour. Lu Ming stretched out his palms. The terrifying devouring power shrouded all the poisonous insects in it. The devouring power exploded and the dense poisonous gas was instantly absorbed by Lu Ming. The poisonous insects were also instantly sucked dry of their blood essence. Their blood fell to the ground like raindrops. What a powerful poisonous gas! After devouring so much poisonous gas, Lu Ming felt his body go numb. Lu Ming could not help but sigh at the power of the poisonous gas. This was the first time Lu Ming's body went numb from a poisonous gas. In the past, any poisonous gas would be devoured by Lu Ming's devouring power and would be refined. It would not affect Lu Ming at all. This is the Yuan continent after all, this poisonous gas reminded Lu Ming. After all, this was the Yuan continent and not the mainland of the divine ruins. The laws of heaven and earth were perfect and everything in heaven and earth was different from the mainland of the divine ruins. It was possible that some terrifying poisonous gas could be born here. Even the devouring power could not devour the poisonous gas. Lu Ming warned himself that he could not be careless when dealing with poisonous gas in the future. Of course, the green-robed youth's poisonous gas was nothing to Lu Ming. It only made Lu Ming's body go numb for a moment before it was refined by the devouring power. The green-robed youth looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. His poisonous gas was actually devoured by Lu Ming. How was this possible? Even experts with a much higher cultivation than him wouldn't dare to touch his poisonous gas, let alone swallow it into their bodies. You want to use this poisonous gas to poison people? Ridiculous. Lu Ming smiled indifferently and took a step forward. The terrifying chaotic domain pressed down on the green-robed youth. The green-robed youth's face changed drastically and he tried his best to resist. However, his poisonous gas had lost its power and his combat strength was much weaker than the other leaders. He was crushed by Lu Ming's chaotic domain. He vomited blood and his body flew far away. Many of his bones were broken. Boom! Boom! At this moment, the battle for the sacred weapons had reached its climax. More than 10 youths fought fiercely over a few sacred weapons. In the end, the sacred weapons were taken by different people. Luo Xiang of the Life and Death Sword sect had become stronger after obtaining the Sword Dao inheritance. His sword qi pierced through the air and cut through everything. He took a sacred weapon battle sword. Shi Tian of the Heavenly Divine sect was like a deity. He also took a sacred weapon. He Yu of the Dragon God Valley had the blood dragon battle body and was extremely powerful. He also took a sacred weapon. Chapter 1442. Bang! At this moment, a flying jade box was accidentally smashed by someone. Suddenly, a palm-sized, translucent armor appeared in the air, flickering with a strange fluctuation. That's a spiritual god defensive treasure. Someone cried out in alarm. Everyone's gazes were fixed on the jade armor. Their eyes were burning with passion. A spiritual god defensive treasure. It's a spiritual god defensive treasure. No matter how strong a martial artist's spiritual body was, the spiritual god was the most fragile and fatal weakness of a martial artist. If one were to encounter dangers that could harm one's soul in secret realms, ruins, or forbidden lands, a spiritual god defensive treasure could save one's life. This kind of treasure was extremely difficult to refine as it was linked to one's soul. It was priceless and could not be bought on the market. It's mine. It's mine. More than 10 young men moved at the same time and rushed toward the jade armor. Get lost. It's you. Boom. 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 More than 10 people fought fiercely. Sword qi and saber light crisscrossed. Everyone wanted to get their hands on the jade armor. For a moment, no one could get it. Whoosh! A pair of black wings appeared on Lu Ming's back. At the same time, he used the wind origin technique and disappeared. In the next moment, he broke through the obstacles and appeared near the jade armor. It's you? A young man hollered. Sacred light surged toward Lu Ming like a tide. It was the leader of the heavenly divinity sect, Shi Tian. Get lost. Lu Ming shouted and stepped forward. He used the 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps and the chaotic domain burst out. The divine energy on Shi Tian's body trembled violently. His body trembled and he was sent flying by Lu Ming. Whoosh! Lu Ming stretched out his hand and formed a big hand to grab the jade armor. Don't even think about it. The rest of the people were engaged in a chaotic battle. However, the moment they saw Lu Ming approaching the jade armor and was about to obtain it, they attacked Lu Ming one after another. At least 5 or 6 attacks were launched toward Lu Ming. These people were the leaders of their sections. Their cultivation had reached the 2nd layer martial royal realm and their attacks were terrifying. It was even more terrifying when they joined forces. Block it. The black wings on Lu Ming's back closed together and enveloped Lu Ming. At the same time, the primal chaos domain spread out and covered his entire body. Dong! Dong! An intense explosion resounded. The primal chaos domain and the black wings shook violently. However, it was blocked by Lu Ming in the end. At the same time, Lu Ming grabbed the jade armor and put it into his storage ring. Hand over the treasure. Otherwise, die. Cold voices rang out one after another. At least 6 auras locked onto Lu Ming. Lu Ming glanced around and saw 6 youths surrounding Lu Ming. Shi Tian, Hiyu, Wang Shao, the demonic youth, the green-robed youth, and a burly youth. The others, such as Luo Xiang, stood to the side and did not make a move. I'm afraid the 6 of you aren't enough to take my life. Lu Ming smiled indifferently. And, Lu Ming looked at Hiyu and said, we're from the same sect. Are you going to attack me too? This treasure isn't something you can handle. Hand it to me and I'll report it to the sect and give you a reward. Hiyu said coldly. Hand it to you? Huh, what a hypocrite. If you want it, just say it. Lu Ming mocked. Humph, then I'll test you and see what you're made of. Hiyu said coldly. His body was filled with blood-red light and a dragon's roar resounded. A layer of blood-red dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. Bam! Hiyu took a step forward and his entire body was like a human-shaped dragon as he pounced towards Lu Ming. His hand also became like a dragon's claw as he grabbed at Lu Ming. Blood Dragon War Body. I'd like to see how strong it is. Lu Ming threw out a punch. Bam! The fist collided with the dragon's claw and there was a dull explosion. Then, Hiyu's body trembled and he was forced to retreat continuously. This person is so strong. He can actually force Hiyu to retreat. The eyes of the surrounding youths froze. Among them, Hiyu was the strongest in close combat. No one was a match for Hiyu in close combat. However, Lu Ming had forced Hiyu to retreat. It was simply shocking. We'd better attack together. This person is demonic and not easy to deal with. Shi Tian said with a cold murderous intent. Lu Ming was someone he had to kill. I think so too. Hiyu, you don't have any objections, right? Wang Shao said and looked at Hiyu. It's fine. This person has no respect for the law and even dares to hurt the disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley. He's lawless and deserves to be killed. Hiyu said coldly. Huh, so many of you against one person and you're still speaking so righteously. How despicable. A disdainful voice was heard, but it wasn't Lu Ming but Luo Xiang. Humph. Shi Tian and the others' eyes turned cold, but they didn't say anything. Attack. Shi Tian said and made the first move. Sacred light burst out from his body and formed a sacred spear, which he threw at Lu Ming. At the same time, Wang Shao released sword aura from his palm. An extremely sharp sword gleam cut through the void and slashed toward Lu Ming. Following this, the young man with a sinister demonic aura and the young man in a green robe attacked at the same time. Together with Hiyu, the 6 of them had both close combat and long-range attacks. Since they were all peerless geniuses, their strength far surpassed that of ordinary emperors. Even a fourth-layer martial royal realm expert would be killed instantly when the 6 of them worked together. Even a fifth-layer martial royal realm expert would have to retreat. Kill! Lu Ming yelled as he flapped his black wings and dashed toward one of them. Lu Ming wouldn't stand in the middle like a fool and be treated as a target. If they wanted to fight, they would defeat them one by one. Lu Ming chose the young man in a green robe. Among the 6 of them, the young man in a green robe posed the least threat to Lu Ming. Lu Ming dodged 3 of the attacks and took 2 of them head-on. He arrived in front of the young man in a green robe and activated his 3rd bloodline. Streams of energy flowed into Lu Ming's body, further strengthening Lu Ming's strength. He reached out with his left hand and unleashed a devouring force that engulfed the young man in a green robe. At the same time, he threw a punch with his right hand. The hell-suppressing heaven skill combined with the chaotic domain was unleashed. Bang! The space trembled and formed a terrifying fist intent that slammed toward the young man in a green robe. The young man in a green robe's poisonous aura was devoured by the devouring force. Following this, Lu Ming's fist intent landed on him. The young man in a green robe let out a cry of agony as his body was blasted apart by Lu Ming's fist intent and turned into a cloud of green mist. The next moment, the mist gathered and tried to reform his body. The young man in a green robe's spiritual body was a poisoned spiritual body among the medium earth spiritual bodies. Like a flame spiritual body, it had a strong vitality and could turn into poisonous gas to reduce the cold. Chapter 1443. Destroy. Lu Ming pressed his palm down and the chaotic domain spread out, enveloping the green-robed youth and refining him. Save me. The green fog tumbled as the green-robed youth screamed. Of course, his voice was emitted by energy vibrations. Let him go. A loud roar was heard and a demonic aura surged. A small pagoda with demonic aura flew out from the youth's head and rapidly grew in size, suppressing Lu Ming. Sacred weapon. Without a doubt, this small pagoda was also a sacred weapon. These people were the leaders of their respective sections. To be able to come this far, they had naturally gained a lot. Each of them had obtained a sacred weapon. The youth with the demonic aura was called Immortal, and he came from the Sky Universe Demon Sect. His small pagoda was the sacred weapon he had obtained when he entered the Great Emperor's mystic realm. Although he couldn't unleash much of the power of a sacred weapon with his cultivation, it was still stronger than an emperor-grade spiritual weapon. The small pagoda grew to the size of a small mountain and pressed down on Lu Ming. There was a terrifying suction force under the pagoda that seemed to want to suck Lu Ming in. Shwa! The black feather wing on Lu Ming's back flapped out and rapidly grew in size. It slashed towards the small pagoda like a blade. Dang! The small pagoda shook and demonic aura tumbled as it was sent flying. However, the black feather wing was suppressed by the small pagoda and flew back. Boom! Boom! Wang! Wang! At this moment, a powerful aura rose from Hiyu, Wang Xiao, Shi Tian, and the burly youth. Each of them had a battle weapon floating out from their bodies. They were all sacred weapons. They had all used their sacred weapons to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming's face turned serious. If he didn't use his sacred weapons and fought with his own strength, Lu Ming wouldn't be afraid even if he was surrounded by 6 experts. He might even be able to win. However, since all of them had used their sacred weapons, their strength was reduced. It would become a clash between sacred weapons. This wasn't good for Lu Ming. Wang! Lu Ming's glabella lit up and the lightning cauldron floated out. Pung! At this moment, a sword light flashed in the sky, and a jade box was shattered. A jade talisman flew out of the jade box. Hiyu and company besieged Lu Ming, but the others were not watching the show. They were chasing after the 2 remaining jade boxes in the sky. The jade box from before contained a jade armor. It was clear that the treasure in the jade box was even more precious. As soon as the jade talisman appeared, the remaining few people began to fight over it. Hiyu, Shi Tian, and the others' faces paled. I'll spare him this time," Shi Tian said. He was the first to rush into the sky and participate in the struggle for the jade talismans. When the others saw this, they all went to fight for the jade talismans. Lu Ming's expression was calm, and he didn't participate. Instead, he looked at the last jade box. This jade box was the fastest, dancing in the air like a bolt of lightning. Whoosh! Lu Ming suddenly made a move. He clawed out with his palm, and a large hand formed to grab the jade box. However, the jade box was extremely agile, and in a flash, it dodged Lu Ming's palm. Then, Lu Ming's figure flickered as he executed the wind origin art, chasing after the jade box at lightning speed. However, the jade box emitted a bright light, and its speed suddenly increased, leaving Lu Ming in the dust. Fuck! Lu Ming cursed inwardly. How could a jade box be faster than him? Was there any justice in this world? Lu Ming chased after the jade box. On the other side, the battle for the jade talisman had already been decided. In the end, the jade talisman was obtained by a peerless woman. Shi Tian and the others' eyes flickered, but they didn't continue to fight for the jade talisman. It was obvious that they were wary of this woman. At this time, everyone's attention was on the last jade box. Then, everyone made a move. Their figures dashed toward the jade box, but the jade box was incomparably agile. It flickered in the air, evading everyone's attacks. Even when someone used a holy artifact, it was useless. I suggest that we spread out in all directions of the stone room, and use our domains to envelop the stone room. This way, the jade box has nowhere to run. Someone suggested. All right. I have no objections. Let's fight for the jade box after we get it. Someone else said. Everyone had no objections. Their figures flickered, and they spread out in all directions. There were a total of 13 people. Originally, the 13 leaders of the top sects, including Lu Ming, had a total of 14 people. However, the green-robed young man was killed by Lu Ming, and now there were only 13 people left. Buzz! 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 Each of the 13 cultivators unleashed a domain, which expanded rapidly and slowly shrouded the entire stone chamber. The jade box's range of movement became smaller and smaller. In the end, it had no choice but to be shrouded by the domain. It's mine. A young man was overjoyed. It was Shi Tian. In the end, the jade box was shrouded by his domain. Come here. Shi Tian shouted, and his domain shrunk rapidly. The jade box glowed and tried to escape. Then, with a bang, the jade box exploded, and the thing inside was revealed. It was actually a pill. On it, there was a bright fluorescent light, and a strange phenomenon appeared, surrounded by the aura of the Great Tao. When they saw the pill, everyone's eyes widened. The Breakthrough Sage Pill, it's the Breakthrough Sage Pill. This Breakthrough Sage Pill is mine. Mo Jia was the first to shout. The others also revealed a blazing light in their eyes. It was the Breakthrough Sage Pill. Even Lu Ming's heart was burning with excitement. The Breakthrough Sage Pill could help one break through to the Martial Sage Realm. It was extremely difficult for a martial king to break through to the Martial Sage Realm. There were many people at the peak of the Martial King Realm in Yuan Continent. For example, there were many experts at the peak of the Martial King Realm in the 13 top sects in Song Province. However, there were very few martial sages. A martial saint was considered an expert in the primordial continent. However, even top geniuses like Shi Tian and Hiyu were not confident that they could break through to the martial sage realm. In history, there were many outstanding geniuses who had reached the peak of the martial king realm early on, but they could not break through to the martial sage realm. They were stuck at the peak of the martial king realm for their entire lives, and died when their lifespan was exhausted. The breakthrough sage pill could increase one's chances of breaking through to the martial sage realm by 30%. 30% was a terrifying probability. It would make countless experts at the peak of the martial king realm fight for it. Especially for top geniuses like them. If the probability was increased by 30%, they would be confident that they could break through to the martial sage realm in the future. Don't even think about it. The breakthrough sage pill happens to be in my realm. It is fated to be with me. Shi Tian shouted and shrank his realm. He wanted to snatch the breakthrough sage pill. However, the breakthrough sage pill seemed to have a mind of its own. With a tremble, it broke through Shi Tian's realm and escaped from Shi Tian's control. It's mine. The others flew up and pounced on the breakthrough sage pill. Various rays of light condensed into large hands and grabbed at the breakthrough sage pill. However, the breakthrough sage pill emitted rays of light. It flew past and pierced through the large hands, causing them to miss. Swoosh! Lu Ming performed the wind origin skill and flapped his black wings. He was as fast as lightning as he pounced on the breakthrough sage pill. In an instant, he appeared a few meters away from the breakthrough sage pill. Chapter 1444. However, to Lu Ming's surprise, although the break sage elixir was stopped for a moment, it was only for a moment. The break sage elixir pierced through the giant hand that Lu Ming had formed. Even the giant hand formed by the chaotic domain could not stop the break sage elixir. The level of my chaotic domain is still too low. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He knew that it was not because the chaotic domain was useless, but because the level of his chaotic domain was too low. It was only a level 1 domain, which was why it could not stop the break sage elixir. Subsequently, the others made their moves, but none of them managed to get the break sage elixir. Suddenly, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Bubbles and Dandan appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. The two of them were still burping, and their mouths were filled with medicinal fragrance. Another spiritual elixir? As soon as Dandan appeared, its eyes rolled around. Dandan, Bubbles, help me get the break sage elixir. Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Dandan and Bubbles. Chirp chirp, as soon as Lu Ming finished his words, Bubbles waved its pair of small claws outward. As the bubbles danced, space began to surge like waves. Dang! The break sage elixir was flying, but suddenly it seemed to have hit a hard wall, making a loud thud. Bubbles had done something to the space and froze it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Bubbles was indeed a space-time spirit mouse. It could control time and space. Even in Yuan continent, where space was extremely stable, Bubbles could still control it. Bubbles waved its claws and controlled the space to form a space box, sealing the break sage elixir inside. As for Lu Ming, he dashed over. Stop him! Wang Xiao shouted, and a sword radiance slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. He waved his hand and dispersed the sword radiance. The mountain river diagram appeared between his eyebrows. He wanted to keep the break sage elixir into the mountain river diagram. But at this moment, the saint breaking pill shone brightly. The light was like a sharp sword, breaking through the frozen space formed by the bubble in one fell swoop. Then, like a bolt of lightning, it rushed to the side of the stone room. At the side of the stone room, there was a passage. The breakthrough sage pill rushed directly into the passage. Where do you think you're going? Lu Ming used the wind element technique. With a flap of his black wings, he flew towards the tunnel like a bolt of lightning. Chase! Behind him, the others also chased after him. Dandan, stop them! Lu Ming transmitted his voice to Dandan. Leave it to me. Dandan grinned. Whoosh! When Lu Ming rushed into the tunnel, Dandan opened its mouth and a light flashed. A shield condensed and blocked the entrance of the tunnel. The first to arrive was Shi Tian. His fist landed on the shield with a loud bang, but the shield did not budge. Damn it! Shi Tian roared. Then, the others also arrived and launched their attacks. However, they could not break the tortoiseshell shield in a short time. During this period of time, Dandan had swallowed too many spiritual herbs, as well as a few half-saint herbs from before. Her injuries had long recovered, and she had even advanced. The tortoiseshell shield that he had condensed with all his strength would not be broken so easily. Damn it, the core is inside. Break the tortoiseshell. Let's attack together. Anxious voices sounded. Shi Tian, Wang Xiao, and the others joined forces to attack. The tortoiseshell shield vibrated. It would not be long before it was broken by them. However, it was enough for Lu Ming to block it for a while. After Lu Ming rushed into the passage, he did not stop and chased after the breakthrough sage pill at an extremely fast speed. Chirp chirp, Bubble cried and suddenly flew out from Lu Ming's shoulder. It opened its mouth and a transparent bubble suddenly appeared, enveloping the breakthrough sage pill. The breakthrough sage pill shone and wanted to break through, but it could not break through for a while. This transparent bubble not only contained the space domain, but also the time domain. Bubble flew over and swallowed the transparent bubble. Its furry body flashed and it returned to Lu Ming's shoulder. Then, it opened its mouth obediently and the breakthrough sage pill flew out. Lu Ming grabbed the Xing-breaking elixir in his hands. Lu Ming, I'll seal it. Dandan said. Then, she waved her claws. Dense inscriptions appeared and wrapped around the saint-breaking elixir, forming a sealing formation. Not only could it prevent the saint-breaking elixir from flying around, but it could also prevent the loss of its medicinal efficacy. Breakthrough sage pill. Lu Ming revealed a smile. He took out a jade box and put the Xing-breaking elixir into a storage ring. The breakthrough sage pill was priceless. For those who were stuck at the peak of the martial royal realm and could not break through, it was more precious than any holy weapon. Those people were willing to buy a breakthrough sage pill even if they had to sell their family's fortune. Of course, Lu Ming did not plan to sell it. It would be useful to keep it with him. After putting away the breakthrough sage pill, Lu Ming looked ahead. There seemed to be light in front of the passage. We should be close to the core of the great emperor's palace. Lu Ming thought and stepped forward. As for Dandan and Bubble, they returned to the mountain river diagram to continue digesting the medicinal efficacy. Soon, they arrived at the entrance of the passage. But strangely, looking out from the entrance of the passage, it seemed to be a starry sky. And that light came from the starry sky. Is it really a starry sky outside the passage? Lu Ming muttered in his heart. After pondering for a while, he stepped out and walked out. The moment Lu Ming stepped out of the passage, he felt the space around him change. The next moment, he found himself in a starry sky. It was a real starry sky. There were stars all around him. He was floating in the starry sky. That is, the next moment, Lu Ming opened his eyes wide in shock. There were two huge creatures in the starry sky in front of him. One of them was a huge goshawk. This goshawk was too huge and majestic. It covered the sky and the sun as if it was bigger than the stars. A pair of huge eyes was looking at Lu Ming. It's alive. This huge goshawk was actually alive. Opposite the goshawk was a human figure. This human figure was also incomparably huge, like a giant that could support the heavens and earth. However, this figure's appearance could not be seen clearly. It was shrouded in a layer of black light. It was distorted in the starry sky and looked extremely evil. This huge figure seemed to be sizing up Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming discovered that both the goshawk and the gigantic human figure seemed to be injured and severely injured. One of the goshawk's wings was missing. There were many wounds all over its body. Some of the wounds were even bleeding. The huge eyes were bright but seemed a little lifeless. It was a very strange feeling. As for the huge figure, it was not much better. It was missing a leg and there were claw marks on its body. There was even a big hole in its chest. Ha ha ha, Emperor's song, it seems that you have lost in the end. You have fought against me for 60,000 years. In the end, I am still slightly better. You will be buried here. At this moment, the huge figure laughed. Chapter 1445. Lu Ming's mind was also buzzing. Lu Ming was dumbstruck and in disbelief. Sangdi? That figure was called Sangdi. Could it be that the giant eagle in front was Sangdi? Legend had it that Sangdi's original form was a goshawk. Sangdi was not dead. At this moment, Lu Ming was shocked beyond words. Sangdi had disappeared for 60,000 years and was still alive. Now, Lu Ming saw it with his own eyes. In that case, the giant figure was obviously a great emperor as well. Soul Extinguisher Shakyamuni, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. A voice came out of the goshawk's mouth. Haha, you want to drag me down with you? Dream on. So many people have entered this secret realm, and they're all competing and killing each other. How many vengeful spirits, baleful chi, and soul chi have been produced? I've already recovered a little after absorbing all that soul chi. Even if it's just a little, it's enough to suppress you. In addition, there are some young geniuses who are about to reach here. As long as I devour their flesh and blood, I'll be able to recover a little more. Azure Sovereign, that will be the day you die. Sangdi, 60,000 years ago, I have already prepared a tomb for you. Even if you resist stubbornly and resist me for 60,000 years, what's the use? The result has already been decided. Even the heavens are on my side. The giant figure laughed. At this moment, countless thoughts appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Through the conversation between Sangdi and the giant figure, Lu Ming's doubts were resolved. According to the outside world, Sangdi suddenly disappeared 60,000 years ago and there was no news of him since then. Now it seemed that Sangdi had encountered a strong enemy and fought with him. In the end, he had resisted for 60,000 years and had yet to appear. As for Sangdi's subordinates, Lu Ming had found many skeletons. Most of them were killed by a strong enemy. This enemy was also a great emperor. He was incomparably strong and fought a shocking battle with Sangdi. In the end, both sides were injured. But what shocked Lu Ming was that Sangdi and the giant figure were both injured, but they were still fighting. This fight had lasted for 60,000 years. The ability of a great emperor was really unbelievable. But now, the intrusion of Lu Ming and the others seemed to have broken the deadlock. Previously, Lu Ming suddenly raised his eyebrows. Previously, in the stone room where he had obtained the black feather wings, there had been an eagle that had appeared and stopped him from advancing. That eagle should have been formed by the Azure Emperor. The black silhouette that was fighting with the Firmament Emperor should be the giant silhouette in front of him, the Soul Extinguisher King. Sangdi didn't want Lu Ming and the others to continue, but the soul-destroying Shakyamuni wanted Lu Ming and the others to continue, because he wanted to refine Lu Ming's flesh and blood. Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. At this time, the huge shadow looked at Lu Ming and said in a loud voice, "Why are you alone?" "All right, I'll refine you first and wait for the others." Finished speaking, an incomparably huge hand grabbed towards Lu Ming. "Run!" Lu Ming turned around and ran without hesitation. However, that huge hand covered the sky and the sun. It was too huge. Moreover, the aura that it exuded was extremely terrifying. In an instant, Lu Ming felt as though his body was about to explode. The chaotic domain covered his body and vibrated non-stop. Dragon roars could be heard from Lu Ming's body and there seemed to be 9 dragons emerging from his body. Chaotic domain, it's actually the chaotic domain. The Soul Extinguisher King's voice was filled with shock. Chaotic domain, such a genius should be killed. The Soul Extinguisher King's voice was filled with killing intent. Don't even think about it. With a long roar, a huge wing swept out, as if it was going to split the starry sky. It struck the huge hand and shattered it. Sangdi, you're courting death. The Soul Extinguisher King's body shone brightly and charged towards the Sangdi like a deity. The Sangdi let out a long roar and engaged in a fierce battle with the Soul Extinguisher King. The scene of the two fighting in the starry sky was too horrifying. The stars were destroyed and the starry sky was shattered. Both Zhang Di and the Soul Extinguisher King were still far away from Lu Ming. However, the aura of the battle made it hard for Lu Ming to breathe. It was extremely stifling. Great Emperor, this is a great emperor. He's too strong. An emperor is like an ant in front of him. No, even a sage is an ant. Lu Ming muttered to himself and retreated rapidly. There was no door in the starry sky and there was no way out. He couldn't see the passageway that he came from. Lu Ming could only retreat and try his best to stay away from the two great emperors. Little brat, since you're here, your fate is sealed. You'll become my nourishment. The Soul Extinguisher King's voice was heard and a black ray of light shot across the starry sky towards Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming seemed to be frozen and couldn't move at all. Chirp chirp, at this moment, the bubbles appeared. It chirped and waved its claws rapidly. There was a cracking sound in the space around Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt his body relax and he could move again. The black wings flapped. At the same time, the energy of the wind-calming bead in his glabella gushed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming retreated frantically. Even if he was facing a great emperor, Lu Ming wouldn't wait for death. Even if the chances of survival were slim, he would fight for it. One of the top 10, the Spacetime Spirit Rat, is still alive. All the more you should be killed. The Soul Extinguisher King's killing intent was extremely strong. Don't even think about it. Emperor Tsang roared and spat out a ray of light that blocked the ray of light that the Soul Extinguisher King shot at Lu Ming. Emperor Tsang, you can't stop me. Even if I don't kill you today, I'll kill the kid who comprehended the chaotic domain and the spacetime spirit rat. The Soul Extinguisher King's voice was filled with endless killing intent. At this moment, at least a dozen rays of black light shot towards Lu Ming. So many. Lu Ming's pupils shrank rapidly. Although Emperor Tsang and the Soul Extinguisher King were severely injured and had been fighting each other for 60,000 years, they were still terrifying existences to Lu Ming and could easily kill him. Emperor Tsang roared and flapped his wings. A dozen feathers flew out and blocked the rays of black light like a dozen divine swords. But in the end, the Soul Extinguisher King was stronger. A ray of black light dodged Emperor Tsang's attack and shot towards Lu Ming. Chirp chirp, Bubbles screamed and spat out a transparent bubble that suddenly appeared in front of him. It shrouded the black light and hoped that it could block it. But when the black light flew past, the transparent bubble shattered. Although Bubbles was a spacetime spirit rat and could control spacetime, its cultivation was too far away from the opponent and it was useless. The black light continued to shoot towards Lu Ming. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if the blood in his body had frozen. He couldn't move his body. Am I going to die here? A thought appeared in Lu Ming's mind. The great emperor was too strong. He was the top expert in the world and Lu Ming didn't stand a chance against such an expert. Chapter 1446. The black light was about to hit Lu Ming's glabella. Wang. At this moment, Lu Ming's glabella lit up and the lightning cauldron rushed out. The lightning cauldron expanded to 10,000 feet in size and blocked in front of Lu Ming. Dong! The black light hit the lightning cauldron and the cauldron shook violently. Lightning flashed in the sky and destroyed the black light. Holy battle weapon! The Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni roared. Great, a lightning-attributed holy battle weapon is the perfect counter for you. Looks like the heavens are not looking after you. A lightning-attributed holy battle weapon is enough to deal with you. Emperor Tsang exclaimed in surprise. At the same time, Emperor Tsang's voice rang in Lu Ming's mind. Kid, lend me your holy battle weapon. All right. Lu Ming did not hesitate. With a thought, the lightning cauldron flew forward. The Azure Emperor flapped his wings, causing the lightning cauldron to rapidly fly towards him. Not only that, the lightning cauldron rapidly expanded until it was about the same size as the Azure Emperor. Boundless lightning crackled around it, exuding an incomparably terrifying aura. Is this the true power of the lightning cauldron? Lu Ming's eyes widened. He now knew that the lightning cauldron was a holy battle weapon. In the past, Lu Ming could only unleash a tiny bit of its power. With Lu Ming's cultivation, he could not unleash much of the lightning cauldron's power. But now that the lightning cauldron was in Emperor Tsang's hands, it was completely different. The huge lightning cauldron pressed down on the soul destroyer Shakyamuni. Countless lightning bolts as thick as mountains bombarded the soul destroyer Shakyamuni. The soul destroyer Shakyamuni roared. The black light on his body twisted and there was even a sizzling sound as black smoke rose. His cultivation technique was perfectly countered by lightning. However, with his cultivation, if he was at his peak, the lightning cauldron would not be a threat to him. But now, he was extremely weak. The lightning cauldron was a huge threat to him. Moreover, it was under Emperor Tsang's control. Boom! Boom! The lightning cauldron pressed down slowly. Infinite lightning cauldrons drowned the soul extinguisher Shakyamuni completely. Tsangdi, you can't kill me. You can't kill me with just a supreme saint weapon. The soul destroyer Shakyamuni roared. I just need to suppress you temporarily. Tsangdi's voice rang out. Then, a voice echoed in Lu Ming's ears, Kid, I can't return this lightning cauldron to you for the time being. However, as compensation, I'll give you my storage ring. Whoosh! A ray of light flashed, shattering the void and appearing in front of Lu Ming in an instant. This was a storage ring, the Azure Emperor's storage ring. Lu Ming's heart began to race. He grabbed the storage ring. Kid, I'm going to bring the soul-destroying Discipline Emperor away from here. I'll use the force of the rift to suppress him. You guys should leave at once. The Tsang Emperor's voice rang out again. After that, Lu Ming felt a powerful force tugging at him and Lu Ming disappeared from this space. The next moment, Lu Ming appeared in the void. I'm out. Lu Ming looked ahead and saw a huge eagle. That was the Azure Emperor's chamber. He had exited from it. At this moment, the space around Lu Ming rippled and several figures appeared in the air. Those who entered the Azure Emperor's chamber were all teleported out, including Shi Tian, Wang Xiao, and the others. Damn it, what's going on? Wang Xiao roared. They were blocked by Dandan's tortoiseshell shield. They attacked with all their might and were about to shatter it, but at this moment, they were inexplicably teleported out. It was the same for the others. Some of them were about to obtain a treasure but were suddenly teleported out. They were extremely angry and unwilling. Ga. At this moment, the Azure Emperor's chamber let out a long cry. Then, under everyone's shocked gaze, it flapped its wings and flew into the depths of the sky. Rumble. In the depths of the sky, the space cracked open and the Azure Emperor's chamber flew into it and disappeared. What's going on? Why did the Azure Emperor's chamber suddenly fly away? No, it's my treasure. The scene was noisy. Some people roared and some were shocked. Lu Ming, is it because of you? Suddenly, a voice resounded, making many people quiet down. They couldn't help but look at Lu Ming. Wang Xiao. Lu Ming looked at Wang Xiao coldly. The person who roared just now was Wang Xiao. Lu Ming, you used despicable means to stop us. You were the only one who entered the core of the Azure Emperor's chamber. Not long after you entered, we were teleported out and the Azure Emperor's chamber flew away automatically. It must be because of you. Wang Xiao said coldly. What? Only Lu Ming entered the core of the Azure Emperor's chamber? He actually entered the core of the Azure Emperor's chamber? Many people looked at Lu Ming. They were surprised and deep in thought. That's right, Lu Ming. Did you obtain the Azure Emperor's inheritance and that's why the Azure Emperor's chamber flew away? Shi Tian stepped out and said coldly. His body was emitting a sacred light. Most of the people's eyes lit up when they heard this. They stared at Lu Ming with fervent gazes. The Azure Emperor's inheritance. When they thought of these 4 words, everyone's hearts burned with passion. I didn't obtain the Azure Emperor's inheritance. Lu Ming explained. Who would believe that? Lu Ming, you must have obtained the Azure Emperor's inheritance. Now, hand it over. It's impossible for you to take it for yourself. Wang Xiao said. That's right, the Azure Emperor's inheritance is not something you can take for yourself. Shi Tian said. Yes, hand over the inheritance. Otherwise, today will be the day you die. It's best to search his storage ring and his soul. Everything will be clear so that he doesn't hide anything. Yes. The rest of the people shouted as well, staring coldly at Lu Ming. They slowly formed a circle, surrounding Lu Ming in the middle. What are you doing? Do you think there's no one in the Dragon God Valley? Senior and junior brothers, help Lu Ming. Qiu Yingying shouted from the crowd. Yes, senior brothers, let's help Lu Ming break out of the encirclement. Ruan Tian chimed in. Hee, what a joke. This is Lu Ming's personal feud with the other sections. Disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley, listen up. No one can help Lu Ming. Otherwise, if you offend the other sects because of your personal feud and cause the Divine Dragon Valley to become enemies with the other sects, you will bear the consequences. Yin Feng shouted. His voice could be heard from afar. When he found out that Lu Ming had entered the Azure Emperor's core, he was extremely jealous and wished that Lu Ming would die. That's right. Disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley, don't move. He said, and his powerful aura locked onto Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, Wan Tian and the others. You're despicable. The elders have already said that we should work together. Qiu Yingying shouted. Shut up. Chapter 1447. Yingying, you don't have to say anything. These clowns can't do anything to me. Lu Ming's voice could be heard. Arrogant brat, hand over Emperor Tsang's inheritance or you'll die a horrible death. Hurry up. The surrounding youths stared greedily at Lu Ming. I've already said that I didn't get Emperor Tsang's inheritance. Also, let me remind you, if you want to attack me, you'd better be prepared to be killed. Lu Ming said with a cold murderous intent in his eyes. Ridiculous, we have so many people, let's see who you can kill. Wang Xiao sneered and stepped out. A battle sword floated above his head, emitting a terrifying aura. It was a sacred weapon. On the other side, Shi Tian stepped out with a sacred weapon above his head. Mo Jie did the same and appeared in another direction. In addition to the 3 of them, there were 3 other people who were leaders. They took out their sacred weapons and surrounded Lu Ming. 3 breaths, Lu Ming, I'll give you 3 breaths. If you don't hand over the Emperor's inheritance, you'll stay here forever. Wang Xiao said coldly. 1. Then, Shi Tian started counting. The other youths looked coldly at Lu Ming, their murderous intent filling the air. They were ready to attack at any time. 2. Shi Tian said again. Swoosh. At this moment, a pair of black wings appeared behind Lu Ming's back. With a flap, Lu Ming's figure soared into the sky. He's trying to escape. Don't even think about it. Wang Xiao, Shi Tian, and the other leaders reacted the fastest and chased after Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming suddenly stopped in midair. Then, he changed his direction, passing by Shi Tian and the other 5 and dashing downward. Who said I'm trying to escape? Since you want to kill me, then I'll kill you. Lu Ming shouted and rushed into the crowd below. The black wings were like 2 heavenly blades that slashed across. Immediately, more than a dozen youths were cut in half. More than a dozen youths were killed in one move. Attack together and kill him. Someone shouted. Suddenly, countless attacks were launched at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's primal chaos domain spread out. The black feather wings enveloped the primal chaos domain, and its power was even more terrifying. With a sweep, some of the attacks were destroyed. Whoosh! Lu Ming rushed into the crowd as if there was no one around. With a sweep of his black feather wings, another dozen people were killed. Whoosh! 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 Then, the black feathers on the black wings flew out like divine swords, piercing in all directions. Puff puff puff, one by one, the youths had their glabella or dantian pierced through. No, miserable shrieks rang out. In an instant, over 100 people had died at Lu Ming's hands. The smell of blood filled the air. Lu Ming, you evil demon. You willfully slaughter the innocent. Today, I must eliminate you. Roared Shi Tian. His eyes had turned red. Half of the people Lu Ming had killed were disciples of the heavenly divinity sect. Evil demon? Killing the innocent? What a joke. You were the one who attacked first and wanted to kill me. I've already said that if you want to kill me, you should be prepared to be killed. Do you really think that I can't fight back when you want to kill me? Lu Ming's cold voice sounded. He flapped his black feather wings, avoiding Shi Tian and the other leaders as he attacked the others. The other youths, even geniuses with innate spirit bodies, were no match for Lu Ming. One by one, the youths screamed miserably as they were killed by Lu Ming. Their attacks couldn't cause any harm to Lu Ming. The ground was covered with corpses. Soon, hundreds of people had died at the hands of Lu Ming. Outside the crowd, Yin Feng and the others gasped. This guy is getting more and more terrifying. I must find a chance to kill him. Yin Feng thought. Back off, all of you back off. Shi Tian roared. Those youths frantically fled in all directions, as far as possible from Lu Ming. Shi Tian and the other 5 pursued Lu Ming with all their might. Swoosh! Lu Ming's figure suddenly stopped. Shi Tian and the other 5 once again surrounded Lu Ming. This time, they focused their energy and locked onto Lu Ming, fearing that Lu Ming would escape. Lu Ming, an evil demon like you can't stay in this world. Shi Tian roared. Quickly hand over Emperor Tsang's inheritance and I'll leave your corpse intact. Wang Xiao said coldly. Do you really think that I'm afraid of you? Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile. Bam! Lu Ming stepped forward and walked towards Wang Xiao. Let's attack together. Wang Xiao's eyes flashed with a trace of fear. He really didn't dare to face Lu Ming alone. Attack! Boom! 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 Shi Tian and the rest activated their sacred weapons. The power of the sacred weapons erupted and they were about to attack Lu Ming. Chirp chirp, at this moment, the bubbles on Lu Ming's shoulders buzzed. Suddenly, 6 transparent bubbles appeared in the surroundings, enveloping Shi Tian and the other 5 people. Kill! Lu Ming roared and charged towards Wang Xiao. Spacetime domain. Wang Xiao roared as his mind trembled. At the same time, he pushed his saint weapon with all his might. Whoosh! A shocking sword chi slashed out violently. The transparent bubble trembled and was split open by the sword chi. The might of a sacred artifact was incomparably strong. The bubble would not be able to trap the 6 of them for long. The others also manipulated their sacred weapons to break the transparent bubble. But this moment was enough for Lu Ming. 9 seals of the divine gate, seal! Lu Ming shouted. 5 sealing portals suddenly appeared around Wang Xiao, emitting boundless multicolored light as they sealed Wang Xiao. As Lu Ming broke through to the martial monarch realm, Lu Ming had also achieved a breakthrough in the 9 seals of the divine gate, allowing him to cultivate 5 sealing portals. The 9 seals of the divine gate was a secret technique used by martial monarchs. It was extremely powerful. The 5 sealing portals sealed Wang Xiao in an instant. Kill! Lu Ming appeared in front of Wang Xiao and punched him. Boom! The power of the punch made Wang Xiao tremble in fear. Buzz! However, right at that moment, a suit of armor appeared on Wang Zhao's body and enveloped him completely. Dong! Lu Ming's punch landed on the armor. The armor vibrated and Wang Zhao was sent flying dozens of miles away. He crashed into a huge mountain and spat out a mouthful of blood. A sacred artifact armor. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This sacred artifact armor was most likely worn by Wang Zhao before he came in. Lu Ming sighed. These people are really rich. They even have a sacred artifact armor. Whoosh! Lu Ming's figure flashed as he charged toward Wang Zhao. Catch him! Stop him! Shi Tian and the others shouted as they charged toward Lu Ming. However, they were slower than Lu Ming. As soon as they moved, Lu Ming appeared in front of Wang Zhao. Don't think that I can't do anything to you just because you're hiding in your turtle shell. Lu Ming said coldly as he stomped down. Boom! Chapter 1448. Kill. At this moment, Shi Tian arrived. Get lost. Lu Ming grabbed one of Wang Zhao's legs and used Wang Zhao as a big hammer, swinging it toward Shi Tian. Boom! Shi Tian was sent flying by Wang Zhao. Ah, Lu Ming, I'll kill you. Wang Zhao roared as blood spurted from his mouth. Although he was protected by a sacred artifact armor, the continuous attacks still caused energy to seep in, causing him to be seriously injured. Nonsense. Lu Ming grabbed one of Wang Zhao's legs and swung it again, smashing it heavily on the mountain peak. Dong! The mountain peak trembled as gravel flew everywhere. A large crater was formed on the mountain peak. Wang Zhao wailed as he spat out another mouthful of blood. Just now, Wang Zhao and Shi Tian were the most arrogant. Lu Ming simply stared at one of them and ruthlessly tortured him until he was afraid. Boom! 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 Following that, Lu Ming swung Wang Zhao and smashed him crazily on the mountain peak. The mountain peak trembled as gravel flew everywhere. A large piece of the huge mountain peak was forcefully shattered. When Shi Tian, Mo Jia, and the rest were about to attack, Lu Ming swung Wang Zhao and smashed them. Wang Zhao was now covered by the armor and was like a sledgehammer. It was very convenient to use. In the distance, the others were dumbfounded. Wang Zhao was the leader of the Nine Heaven Sword sect in this great emperor's mystic realm. But now, he was in such a miserable state. He could not resist Lu Ming and was completely suppressed by Lu Ming. As for Wang Zhao himself, he even had thoughts of dying. He had lost all his face. Rumble. At this moment, a sudden change occurred. Heaven and earth shook violently. Moreover, the shaking became more and more intense. It was as if the entire world was shaking violently. Boom! Boom! Following that, the ground cracked open and lava rushed out 1,000 feet high. Not good, this mystic realm is about to collapse. Figures rushed into the sky one after another. Someone roared. Maybe it's caused by Emperor Tsang flying away. What should we do? If the mystic realm collapses, we will all die here. There was an uproar at the scene. Someone screamed in horror. Fly up. When we first entered this arcane pocket realm, it looked like a bubble. There must be an end to it. Fly up and get out of here. Yes, up. Whoosh. Whoosh. Streaks of light flew into the depths of the sky. Kacha. In the sky, space suddenly split open, revealing a pitch-black spatial crack. Several youths screamed miserably as they were swallowed by the spatial crack. If they were in the godly ruins, Huangqi cultivators wouldn't have any problems entering the dark space. However, it was different here. The space was stable, but at the same time, the cracks in the dark space were even more powerful. If Huangqi cultivators entered the dark space, they would die. The space is about to crack. Be careful of the space cracks. Someone shouted. One figure after another flew towards the sky at an extremely fast speed. Shi Tian, Mo, and the rest had ugly expressions on their faces. They couldn't be bothered to deal with Lu Ming as they flew up into the sky, fleeing for their lives. Get lost. Lu Ming threw Wang Shao into a crack in the ground and threw him into the lava. Then, he flapped his black wings and soared into the sky. In a few breaths, Lu Ming appeared beside Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, and Wan Tian. I'll take you with me, Lu Ming said. The chaotic domain enveloped Qiu Yingying and the rest. Then, he flapped his black wings and soared into the sky like a bolt of lightning. Rumble. The ground shook more and more violently. Below them, the ground cracked open and lava raged. It was like the end of the world. In the sky, streaks of light flew up into the sky one after another. After flying for tens of thousands of miles, they finally saw a light screen. We're here. Someone rushed into the light screen. The light screen trembled and disappeared. It really works. Everyone was overjoyed and rushed into the light screen. Lu Ming saw Mo, Hiyu, Shi Tian, and the others rushing into the light screen one by one. Then, the others did the same. Yingying, you guys go out first, Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, what are you doing? Qiu Yingying asked. Killing someone, Lu Ming said coldly. Then, he waved his hand and sent Qiu Yingying and the others into the light screen and disappeared. Then, Lu Ming looked down diagonally. Over there was a sword light that was flying upwards at an extremely fast speed. It was Wang Shao. He was beaten half to death by Lu Ming and thrown into the lava by Lu Ming. If it weren't for the Saint artifact armor, he would have been burned alive. It took him a lot of effort to rush out and escape into the sky. But now, he was at the back. Lu Ming flapped his black wings and used the wind origin technique. His body turned into a black light and flew down. Quick, quick, quick. Wang Shao flew with all his strength. The secret realm was collapsing more and more. If he was late, he wouldn't be able to escape. At the same time, he kept roaring in his heart. In his mind, he was planning how to get revenge on Lu Ming after he got out. Suddenly, he saw a black light flash and pounce at him at extreme speed. Lu Ming, what are you doing? Wang Shao roared. I'm here to kill you, Lu Ming sneered. He looked down and used the 9 Dragons' Heaven Stomp. The power of the 9 steps merged into one and turned into a huge footprint that stomped toward Wang Shao. Wang Shao roared and slashed out. The sword light slashed at Lu Ming's footprint. The footprint was broken, but his body was blasted down. Whoosh! Lu Ming chased after Wang Shao again. Lu Ming, you're crazy. Do you want to die? Wang Shao roared in horror. He had the Saint artifact armor that could block Lu Ming's attack. But if he couldn't get out before the secret realm collapsed, even the Saint artifact armor couldn't save his life. Kill! Lu Ming swooped down and slashed out with the black feather wings like a blade. The Saint artifact armor appeared on Wang Zhao's body. He held the combat sword and slashed at Lu Ming. Clang! The combat sword slashed at the black feather wings. Sparks flew everywhere. Lu Ming's body was slightly obstructed, but Wang Zhao's body was like a cannonball, plunging downward. Rumble. At this time, heaven and earth shook even more violently. More and more space cracks appeared in the sky. The ground below was completely covered by magma. This secret realm would completely collapse at any time. But Lu Ming didn't have any intention of stopping. He continued to rush toward Wang Shao. Madman, you're a madman. Stop it, stop it. Wang Shao roared hysterically. At this time, he was really scared. Lu Ming was a madman. In order to kill him, he didn't even care about his own life. If this went on, both he and Lu Ming would die here. It would be best if Lu Ming died. But he didn't want to die. Now, he regretted. He regretted provoking Lu Ming, a madman. people have to pay the price for their actions. Chapter 1449. Wang Xiao went crazy. He wanted to dash into the sky, but Lu Ming's black wings slashed down, completely blocking his path. He could only try his best to resist as he fell again. Dong! Dong! Lu Ming swooped down and attacked Wang Xiao. The two of them were getting further and further away from the sky and closer to the ground. Boom! Crack! The ground exploded and lava filled the sky. Scorching aura kept surging. More and more spatial cracks appeared in the sky, covering the sky like a spider web. Bam! Some of the spatial cracks shattered like glass. The sky was falling. This mystic realm was about to be destroyed. At this moment, the others had already rushed out. Only Wang Xiao and Lu Ming were left in this mystic realm. Arg! Wang Xiao roared, his voice filled with despair. Now, even if he wanted to rush out, it would be very difficult. Lu Ming, since you're going to die, let's die together. Wang Xiao roared and attacked Lu Ming. Clang! His divine weapon slashed at Lu Ming's black wings. His body trembled, and he was sent flying backward by the power of the chaotic domain above. Who wants to die with you? Lu Ming spoke coldly. He spread his black wings and soared into the sky, flying thousands of miles high in the blink of an eye. However, there were spatial cracks in front of him. There was no way out. Chirp chirp, at this moment, Bubble chirped and emitted a milky white light. It waved its claws and a spatial tunnel appeared in front of Lu Ming. Lu Ming stepped in and disappeared. No, no, take me with you, Wang Xiao broke down when he saw this. He flew toward the spatial tunnel frantically. However, the spatial tunnel disappeared in the next moment. Only Wang Xiao was left yelling. Lu Ming appeared in the sky thousands of miles above. However, Bubble did the same thing again and opened another spatial tunnel. In Yuan continent, Bubble could not open a spatial tunnel for too long with its cultivation base. It could only open thousands of miles each time, but it was enough. After a few times, Lu Ming saw the light screen again and rushed in. Outside the tomb, where Lu Ming and the others entered, there was a Saint Realm expert from each of the 13 sects waiting quietly with some deacons. The tomb was also floating quietly in the air. Suddenly, there was a violent roar in the void behind the tomb. Caw! Soon after, they heard the long cry of an eagle. That space began to tremble unstably. Some places even began to crack. What's that? A goshawk! Someone shouted. They saw an enormous goshawk soaring into the sky in that space, breaking through the void as it soared into the sky. That's not a real goshawk. It's a fortress. Could it be Emperor Tsang's palace? Emperor Tsang's palace? Emperor Tsang is not dead? Voices sounded one after another. The 13 Saint Realm experts' eyes were incredulous. If the Tsang Emperor didn't die and returned, the Tsang's state would probably change. However, the giant goshawk did not break through the sky. Instead, it shattered the void and was faintly discernible. Soon, it completely disappeared into the depths of the void. What happened in Emperor Tsang's secret realm? They were full of doubts, but they could only wait quietly. Click! Not long after, the tombstones of the great necropolis suddenly opened, from which several figures rushed out. As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the light screen, his surroundings changed. Lu Ming found that there was a platform in front of him and many people were standing there, looking in his direction. Lu Ming. Brother Lu. On the platform, Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao, Wan Tian, and the others looked over and were overjoyed when they saw Lu Ming. Obviously, they were not at ease and were waiting here. Lu Ming flew over and nodded to them. Boom! Boom! There was a series of roars in the secret realm. Looking at the secret realm from here, one could see a huge ball with mountains and lakes inside. But at this time, the mountains and lakes had exploded and the whole ball was full of cracks. In the end, the entire sphere exploded. That region was filled with chaos. A secret realm exploded and returned to chaos, disappearing into the endless void. Wang Xiao did not rush out, he was definitely not alive. Let's go. Lu Ming said. They randomly chose a passage and went back the way they came. Not long after, they returned to the inner part of the tomb and found that the door of the tomb was already open. They rushed out one after another. As soon as they rushed out of the light screen, they saw people moving in the air. As long as they were not dead, most of them had come out. The people present took the initiative to divide into 13 areas. Lu Ming and the others flew towards Dragon God Valley's area. What happened in Emperor Tsong's secret realm? Why did it collapse? An old voice rang out. A Saint Plain cultivator couldn't help but ask. Many people looked at each other. They did not know why Emperor Tsong's secret realm collapsed. Among us, one of us definitely knows that Lu Ming from the Divine Dragon Valley entered the core of Emperor Tsong's bedroom. Thereafter, something happened. I'm guessing that he must have obtained Emperor Tsong's legacy. In the Heavenly Divine Sex area, Shi Tian was the first to speak. What? Emperor Tsong's inheritance? Many people heard this and looked in the direction of Dragon God Valley, including some Saint Realm experts. How tempting was Emperor Tsong's inheritance? Who is Lu Ming? An expert from Celestial Divinity sect stepped out, emitting a terrifying aura. This person was Celestial Divinity sect Saint Realm expert. It's him. Shi Tian pointed at Lu Ming. This time, everyone's eyes fell on Lu Ming. Is this true? Saint Realm experts from other sects asked. I can testify that what Shi Tian said is true. Mo Jia from the Heavenly Universe Demon sect stepped out and looked at Lu Ming with a cold gaze. I can testify too. I saw him enter the core of Emperor Tsong's palace with my own eyes. Another genius leader of a sect stepped out. In that case, hand over Emperor Tsong's inheritance. The Celestial Divinity sect Saint Realm expert stared at Lu Ming and stepped out, wanting to go towards Lu Ming. Boom! On Dragon God Valley's side, Elder Hong stepped out and stood in front of Lu Ming like a mountain, blocking the aura of the Celestial Divinity sect Saint Realm expert. What? You want to protect him? How can Dragon God Valley take the Emperor Tsong's inheritance for themselves? The Celestial Divinity sect Saint Realm expert said. The other sects also sent their Saint Realm cultivators over. I didn't get Emperor Tsong's inheritance. At this moment, Lu Ming spoke, his voice spreading across the entire area. You didn't get it? The Saint Realm expert's eyes narrowed. Nonsense, many of us saw you enter the core of Emperor Tsong's palace and you still want to deny it? Shi Tian shouted. I can testify that junior brother Lu Ming did enter the core of Emperor Tsong's palace. A cold voice came from Dragon God Valley's area. Chapter 1450. Lu Ming's gaze was like lightning as he looked at Hiyu. This person was despicable. They were from the same sect, but he wanted to kill Lu Ming and betrayed Lu Ming. Yin Feng, who was standing beside Hiyu, sneered. Hehe, the disciples of the Dragon God Valley have spoken. Looks like it's true. The Sage Realm expert from the Heavenly Divinity sect sneered and his aura became stronger. I told you, I didn't get Emperor Tsong's inheritance. Lu Ming spoke again as he looked at Shi Tian, Mo Jia, Hiyu, and the others. Speaking of which, Lu Ming had saved them. If it wasn't for Lu Ming, they would have been killed by the soul destroyer Shakyamuni and their flesh and blood would have been refined. Everyone would have died then. But now, these people wanted to kill Lu Ming. Lu Ming would remember these people. There would be a time to settle this score in the future. Words are no proof. We want to test it. The Sage Realm expert from the Heavenly Divinity sect said coldly. You want to test it? The Heavenly Divinity sect is so overbearing. Do you think the Dragon God Valley will be afraid of you? Elder Hong was overbearing and his aura was violent like a real dragon. The confrontation between the two Sage Realm experts made many of the youths pale as if a mountain was pressing down on their hearts. It was so uncomfortable that they wanted to vomit blood. Lu Ming was slightly better. He had seen the terrifying aura of the two emperors. Although the Sage Realm expert's aura was strong, it couldn't affect his heart. Lu Ming, did you really enter Emperor Tsang's chamber? Elder Hong asked Lu Ming. Everyone's eyes fell on Lu Ming, waiting to see how Lu Ming would answer. Yes, I did enter the core of Emperor Tsang's chamber. Lu Ming nodded. Looks like no one is slandering you. You admitted it yourself. The Sage Realm expert from the Heavenly Divinity sect said. Entering the core of Emperor Tsang's chamber doesn't mean you got the inheritance. Lu Ming, what did you see in the core of Emperor Tsang's chamber? What did you do? Elder Hong asked again. I saw Emperor Tsang. Lu Ming said. These words were undoubtedly like a sudden clap of thunder that exploded in everyone's minds. Everyone looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming saw Emperor Tsang? Could it be that Tsang Di was still alive? Is Tsang Di still alive? The Sage Realm expert from the Celestial Divinity sect asked with a hoarse voice. Lu Ming nodded his head and said, That's right, Grey Emperor is still alive. Hiss hiss hiss, a series of gasps could be heard. Who would have thought that the Tsang Emperor was still alive? Then the Tsang province would really change greatly. If the Azure Emperor is still alive, why hasn't there been any trace of him in the past 60,000 years? Someone raised a question. That's right, Lu Ming. Speak clearly. What did you see? What did you get? Someone asked. The reason why Emperor Tsang has disappeared for 60,000 years is because he is seriously injured. Moreover, he has been confronting a great enemy for 60,000 years. At that moment, Lu Ming didn't hide anything. He told her everything he had seen. However, there was one thing that he had made a slight change. In fact, the Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni had the upper hand. However, Lu Ming said that Emperor Tsang and the Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni were on par. After 60,000 years of confrontation, Emperor Tsang used his lightning cauldron to gain the upper hand and suppress the Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni. Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni, it's the Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni. The Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni is still alive? The Sage Realm experts present seemed to have heard of the Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni's name. While they were shocked, they also revealed a solemn expression. I see. Many of them who hadn't heard of the Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni were shocked. They finally knew why Emperor Tsang had suddenly disappeared 60,000 years ago. It turned out that he had encountered a great enemy. Many of the youths who had entered the secret realm were shocked. They recalled the many skeletons they had seen in the great emperor's secret realm. Obviously, they had all been killed by Emperor Tsang's enemy. Senior Emperor Tsang borrowed my sacred weapon, the lightning cauldron, to bring the Soul Destroyer Shakyamuni into the infinite void. He said that he would return the lightning cauldron to thank me for my help. In the end, Lu Ming said. The meaning of his words was simple. Emperor Tsang was still alive, but he hadn't obtained Emperor Tsang's inheritance. Moreover, Emperor Tsang was indebted to him. Once Emperor Tsang had defeated his enemy, he would return to find him. He was using Emperor Tsang's name to intimidate the experts of the other sections. If they were to touch Lu Ming now, they would have to answer to Emperor Tsang when he returned. Ha, little brat, there's no need to use Emperor Tsang to threaten us. The Celestial God sect Sage Realm expert sneered. They naturally wouldn't believe Lu Ming's words completely. But there was one thing that they could be sure of. Grey Emperor was indeed still alive. Previously, they had seen Emperor Tsang's palace break through the void. With their Sage Realm cultivation, they could feel a faint trace of Emperor Tsang's aura. Now that Lu Ming had mentioned it, they were certain that Emperor Tsang was in the palace. Since Emperor Tsang wasn't dead, it was impossible for Lu Ming to obtain Emperor Tsang's inheritance. A living emperor wouldn't pass down his inheritance. If they wanted someone to inherit his mantle, they could just accept him as a disciple. If Lu Ming didn't obtain Emperor Tsang's inheritance, there was no point in capturing Lu Ming. Instead, they would offend Dragon God Valley. It wasn't worth it. A few Sage Realm experts looked at each other and shook their heads. Let's go. Since Emperor Tsang isn't dead, we should make plans early. Let's go back and report to the sect leader. A few Sage Realm experts spoke one after another. Then, they left with the youths of their respective sections. The Celestial God Sect Sage Realm expert snorted. His eyes flickered a few times, but he didn't continue to pursue Lu Ming and turned to leave. Senior brother Hiyu, I heard that Lu Ming killed Wu Sandu of the Desire Poison sect in Emperor Tsang's palace. It seems like our Dragon God Valley will have another peerless genius. At this moment, a voice rang out from within the Dragon God Valley. It was so loud that it spread far and wide. Yin Feng. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with killing intent. Yin Feng was purposely trying to harm him. Wu Sandu was the green-robed youth that Lu Ming had killed in Emperor Tsang's palace. True enough, when the Saint Realm expert from the Desire Poison sect heard this, he stopped in his tracks. He turned around and looked at Lu Ming, his body exuding a cold murderous intent. Brat, so Wu Sandu was killed by you. The Desire Poison sect Sage Realm expert's voice was cold. A layer of poisonous fog emitted from his body and a powerful aura pressed down on Lu Ming. Hee. Within the Dragon God Valley's group, Hiyu and Yin Feng sneered. Just a moment ago, Lu Ming had managed to escape under such circumstances. How could they be willing to accept that? Hence, they purposely announced that Lu Ming had killed Wu Sandu. I was the one who killed him. So what? In the Emperor's mystic realm, we were competing. He wanted to kill me first, so how can I not kill him? Lu Ming said loudly. Then I'll kill you to avenge him. The Desire Poison sect's elder roared and stepped forward. Poisonous fog filled the air. Chapter 1451. Roar. A dragon's roar shook the 9 heavens. Elder Hong seemed to have turned into a violent dragon. His long hair danced in the wind as he stared at the Desire Poison sect Sage Realm expert and said, "The Great Emperor Mystic Realm doesn't forbid killing. Naturally, there will be competition for treasures. Your Desire Poison sect is proficient in using poison. Many of the sects here have probably lost their members to your Desire Poison sect. Should we also settle the score with your Desire Poison sect? If the younger generation fights and dies, they can only blame themselves for being useless. As an elder, you want to deal with a junior? Do you have any shame?" Elder Hong was extremely domineering and his voice was like a bell. The Desire Poison sect Sage Realm expert's face turned ugly. However, it made sense. If the younger generation fought and died, it could only be said that they were useless. If the elders intervened because of this, especially the Sage Realm experts, wouldn't it be a mess? You kill my juniors, I kill yours. Then, these sects would never be able to develop. There are many elites in Dragon God Valley, but my Desire Poison sect isn't bad either. Let's wait and see. The Desire Poison sect Sage Realm expert looked coldly at Lu Ming before he waved his sleeves and left. In the blink of an eye, everyone from the Desire Poison sect had left. Damn it, he managed to escape with his life. Yin Feng gritted his teeth in the crowd. He's lucky. There are plenty of ways to kill him in Dragon God Valley. Hiyu also said coldly. Originally, they wanted to use the Desire Poison sect's experts to get rid of Lu Ming. However, they did not expect Elder Hong to be so domineering and protect Lu Ming. They were unwilling to let Lu Ming escape. Lu Ming turned around and looked coldly at Hiyu and Yin Feng. It was as if he was looking at 2 dead men. These 2 people had tried to kill him time and time again. He had to kill these 2 people. Alright, let's return to Dragon God Valley first. Elder Hong said as he took out a battleship. Everyone boarded the battleship and the battleship flew towards Dragon God Valley. A few days later, everyone arrived at Dragon God Valley. Outside the Dragon God Valley, everyone got out of the battleship. Elder Hong led them into the Dragon God Valley. They flew past the outer valley and into the snowy mountain inside. They arrived in front of a huge palace. The palace seemed to be made out of white jade. In front of the palace was a huge square. Lu Ming and the others landed on the square. When Lu Ming and the others arrived, there were already many people surrounding the square. Clearly, they had already known about their return and had rushed over to watch. This time, they were entering the great emperor's mystic realm. Naturally, it attracted many people because they were very curious. Alright, all of you have passed the Divine Dragon Valley's test. Next, there are 2 things you need to do. Elder Hong stood at the highest point and said loudly. The scene quieted down. The first thing is to hand over the treasures and manuals that you have obtained from the great emperor's mystic realm. Of course, these are all voluntary. If you feel that they are useful to you, you can keep them. If they are not useful to you, you can hand them over to the sect. The sect will compensate you. You can be compensated with origin stones or sect contribution points. Sect contribution points are equivalent to 100 pieces of mid-grade origin stones. Sect contribution points can be used to exchange for any treasures in the sect's treasure dragon hall. As long as the Dragon God Valley has it, it can be exchanged. Elder Hong announced loudly. Sect contribution points can be exchanged for any treasures? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He was a little tempted. His Dragon God battle body was currently an inferior Earth spiritual body. However, it could be upgraded continuously. The treasures needed to upgrade it were related to true dragons. True dragon bones, dragon blood, dragon marrow, etc., could be used to upgrade Lu Ming's Dragon God battle body. Of course, these true dragon treasures could only be used by true dragons that were martial emperors and above. Such treasures could only be found by chance. It was very difficult to find them in the outside world. However, all the martial artists in the Divine Dragon Valley had awakened the true dragon bloodline. Living Flood Dragon bloodline, there should be treasures related to true dragons. As long as there were treasures, they could be exchanged with contribution points. Lu Ming had already started to think about what treasures he should hand over later. The second thing is to join the Divine Dragon Valley and become an official disciple of the Divine Dragon Valley. However, the Divine Dragon Valley is divided into 7 valleys. They are Ice Dragon Valley, Silver Dragon Valley, Blood Dragon Valley, Red Dragon Valley, Purple Dragon Valley, Black Dragon Valley and Cloud Dragon Valley. Next, I will briefly explain the characteristics of the 7 Dragon Valleys. You can choose from the 7 Dragon Valleys. Following this, Elder Hong briefly explained the characteristics of the 7 Dragon Valleys. The Ice Dragon Valley was the leader of the 7 Dragon Valleys. The Valley Master of the Divine Dragon Valley was the Valley Master of the Ice Dragon Valley. Among the 7 Dragon Valleys, the Ice Dragon Valley was the strongest. Many people in the Ice Dragon Valley had awakened the Ice Dragon bloodline and cultivated the Ice Dragon battle body. The Blood Dragon Valley was extremely bloodthirsty. They were good at killing and cultivated the Blood Dragon battle body. The Cloud Dragon Valley was the weakest among the 7 Dragon Valleys. It also had the least number of people. The entire Cloud Dragon Valley only had a little over 100 people. Furthermore, there were no rules regarding which dragon body to cultivate. The most heterogeneous dragon body could join the Cloud Dragon Valley. The Cloud Dragon Valley had a special characteristic, which was freedom. They were as free as the clouds. Free and unrestrained, like the rolling clouds, Cloud Dragon Valley. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He found it interesting. Alright, it's time to hand over your treasures. Elder Hong announced loudly. Above the square, there was a huge counter. There were a few white-haired old men who were in charge of inspecting the treasures and registering their information. By the side, many people were watching curiously. They wanted to see what treasures they could obtain in the great emperor's mystic realm. I'll go first. A burly young man walked up and took out a few spiritual herbs and a spiritual weapon. The spiritual weapon was an emperor's spiritual weapon. Not bad. An emperor's spiritual weapon is worth 1,000,000 medium origin stones or 10,000 sect contribution points. Do you need sect contribution points or origin stones? A white-haired old man asked. I need sect contribution points. The burly young man said. All right, I'll register it first. When you join one of the Dragon Valleys, I'll issue you an identity token and give it to you. The white-haired old man said. The burly young man nodded and registered his information. All right, next. The white-haired old man said. Following that, another young man walked up and handed over the treasures that he did not need. Of course, some had more and some had fewer. There were all kinds of treasures. Be it spiritual herbs, refining materials, cultivation technique manuals, spiritual weapons, they could all be handed over. The white-haired old men would appraise the price and they would be compensated accordingly. Soon, thousands of people went up to hand over their treasures. However, none of them took out a sacred weapon. After all, sacred weapons were extremely precious and rare. Even in the great emperor's mystic realm, not many people had obtained one. Moreover, even if they had obtained one, most people would not be willing to take it out. I'll go. Lu Ming smiled and walked up to the front of the counter. With a wave of his hand, a pile of spiritual weapons appeared on the counter. They emitted all kinds of treasure light. Emperor spiritual weapons. They are all Emperor spiritual weapons. There are so many of them. Chapter 1452. On the counter, there was a pile of Emperor-level spiritual weapons. There were at least a dozen of them. The white-haired elders were also slightly stunned. Lu Ming's expression was calm. He had killed many opponents in the great emperor's mystic realm. These people were all geniuses. Many of them had emperor-level spiritual weapons in their hands. Lu Ming still had quite a number of emperor-level spiritual weapons in his hands. What he took out were all useless to him. There were hammer-type weapons, axe-type weapons, and ring-type emperor spirit weapons. These spiritual weapons were equivalent to scrap metal in Lu Ming's hands. It was better to hand them over to the sect in exchange for useful resources. There are a total of 15 emperor-level spiritual weapons, worth 15 million mid-grade primal stones. Do you want to exchange them for primal stones or sect contribution points? The white-haired elder asked. Exchange them with sect contribution points. Lu Ming said. There were quite a number of mid-grade primal stones in the storage rings of the opponents he had killed. It was enough for Lu Ming to use for a period of time. If he exchanged them for sect contribution points, he could exchange them for other treasures. All right, we will register them. Do you have any other treasures to hand over? The white-haired elder asked again. Yes. Lu Ming nodded. His palms glowed. This time, 2 weapons appeared. One of them was a battle sword. When the battle sword appeared, there was a shocking sword chi that pierced through the clouds. The other was a palm-sized knife. There was a green mist on it and a disgusting stench was emitted. It was frightening. Sacred weapons, 2 sacred weapons. Someone exclaimed. Everyone's gaze fell on the 2 sacred weapons. Some people's gazes were burning with passion. It's actually a sacred weapon. It seems like the harvest in the great emperor's mystic realm is really bountiful. Who is this person? He should be from another continent. He actually obtained 2 sacred weapons. It's really a great opportunity. Many people discussed and were extremely envious. The great emperor's mystic realm was something that could only be found by chance. It was a pity that one's cultivation was below that of a martial emperor. Most people had surpassed that realm. The eyes of the white-haired elders also lit up. This was the first time someone had taken out a saint weapon and handed it in. These 2 items are bright saint weapons. They are 100 times more valuable than emperor weapons. Do you want to exchange them for contribution points or mid-grade origin stones? The white-haired old man took the 2 sacred weapons and examined them carefully before asking. Convert them all into contribution points. Lu Ming said. Alright, 2 bright saint weapons, plus 15 emperor-grade spirit weapons, a total of 15 million sect contribution points. Do you have anything else you want to hand over? After the white-haired old man finished speaking, he looked at Lu Ming with some hope. No more. Lu Ming shook his head. More than 2 million contribution points should be enough for a period of time. That can't be right. Lu Ming, the treasures you obtained shouldn't be limited to just these, right? At this moment, a cold voice sounded. Without looking, Lu Ming could tell that it was Yin Feng's voice. Lu Ming coldly glanced at Yin Feng and said, I have nothing to hand over. Nothing? Who are you trying to fool? Where is your wing-shaped sacred weapon? Where are your other treasures? You should have obtained quite a lot. Why don't you take them out and hand them over to the sect? Yin Feng sneered. I do have other treasures, but I can use them myself. Elder Hong also said that I can keep whatever I can use. If you have treasures that you can use, will you hand them over? Lu Ming sneered and asked. Of course I will. I am wholeheartedly devoted to the sect. Yin Feng said. Oh, I forgot. A trash like you can't obtain any treasures. Naturally, you are willing to hand them over. Lu Ming said in disdain. You. Who are you calling trash? Yin Feng was furious. Aren't you? Do you want to fight with me to prove that you are not trash? Lu Ming said. Yin Feng was speechless. He was clear about Lu Ming's battle strength. It was extremely terrifying. If they were to fight, he would only be tortured by Lu Ming. You don't even dare to fight. If you are not trash, then what are you? Lu Ming said in disdain. Yin Feng was trembling with anger, but he could not refute. Lu Ming, I remember that you have obtained a break sage pill. You don't need it now. Why don't you hand it over? At this moment, Yu, who was standing beside Yin Feng, said coldly. What? A break sage pill? At this moment, the entire place became extremely quiet. Countless pairs of eyes stared intently at Lu Ming. Many people had a burning glow in their eyes. A break sage pill. Lu Ming had obtained a break sage pill. Phew, some people's breathing had even become heavy. There were many people around the square. Many of them were peak martial emperors, but they were stuck at the peak of the martial emperor realm, unable to break through. Some of them were at the end of their lifespan. The break sage pill was too tempting for them. If this was not the divine Dragon Valley, where there were martial emperors, some of them would have already snatched it. Lu Ming frowned. This move of Yu's was extremely sinister. If he did not hand in the breakthrough sage elixir, there would be countless pairs of eyes in the Dragon Divine Valley staring at him. In the future, unless Lu Ming did not step out of the Dragon Divine Valley, who knew if someone would secretly make a move on him? This move was ruthless. Lu Ming, since you have the Xing-breaking elixir, why don't you hand it over and contribute to the sect? You have no use for such a treasure now. Moreover, you might die at any time. Wouldn't such a treasure be wasted? Yin Feng shouted. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He then ignored Yin Feng and Yu and bowed to the white-haired old men. Seniors, I have nothing to hand over. Can I register it? Sure, register it. The white-haired old man said. Lu Ming nodded and was about to register it. Wait. At this moment, a voice came from afar. Then, an old man in a silver robe appeared in the sky. Elder Hong and the other white-haired old men's faces changed when they saw the old man in the silver robe. They stood up and bowed. Greetings, Valley Master Yin Long. Many people around the square bowed to him. What? Valley Master Yin Long? Valley Master Yin Long of the 7 Great Valleys? In the middle of the square, the young men who had not officially become disciples of the Divine Dragon Valley were shocked. The valley masters of the 7 great dragon valleys were important figures who stood at the peak of the Divine Dragon Valley. Even in the vast Song continent, they were top figures. Now, Valley Master Yinlong of the 7 great dragon valleys had come personally. "Grandfather!" Yin Feng shouted in surprise when he saw Valley Master Yinlong. Many people gasped when they saw him. Yin Feng's grandfather was Valley Master Yinlong. Lu Ming furrowed his brows. Yin Feng's background was beyond his imagination. Valley Master Yinlong landed on the ground and nodded. "What happened just now?" "It's him. That kid from the uncivilized island. He obtained a treasure in the Great Emperor's secret realm and wanted to take it for himself. He has no use for a treasure like the Break Sage Pill now." Chapter 1453. Moreover, he is the only one who has entered the core of Emperor Tsong's palace. I suspect that he has obtained Emperor Tsong's treasures or his legacy. He added fuel to the fire. What? Emperor Tsong's legacy. His words were like a bomb that caused an uproar among the crowd. Many people looked at Lu Ming in shock. Even Valley Head Silver Dragon's eyes shone with a fiery light. If the breakthrough sage elixir was only tempting to the peak martial royal realm experts, the Emperor Tsong's treasures and legacy would be tempting even to the Valley Master of Silver Dragon Valley. I have already said that I have not obtained Emperor Tsong's legacy. I have already proven this in front of the experts of the various sections. Elder Hong is here to prove my words. Lu Ming said. That's right. Lu Ming has not obtained Emperor Tsong's legacy. Elder Hong said. Emperor Tsong's legacy is very important. I suggest that Lu Ming hand over everything for us to check. Lastly, we will search his soul. This is the only way to ensure that nothing goes wrong. Yin Feng said loudly with a vicious look in his eyes. Ha ha ha. At that moment, Lu Ming laughed out loud and said, I have already said that I have not obtained the legacy. Elder Hong has also proven this. Moreover, I have already said that those who enter the Emperor's secret realm can hand over any treasures they find. Now, you are forcing me to hand them over. Is this how Dragon God Valley treats their disciples? This is so disappointing. How dare you? The Valley Master of Silver Dragon Valley shouted coldly and said, You're just a reserved disciple. How dare you talk about the Dragon God Valley? How audacious. Feng is right, I need to search your soul to make sure. Having said that, the Valley Master of Silver Dragon Valley stepped forward and locked his aura on Lu Ming. Lu Ming realized that he could not move his body at all. It was as if he was frozen in place. Yin Zheng, you are already so old and you are a Valley Master. Don't you find it embarrassing to treat a junior in this manner? At that moment, a gentle voice resounded in the area. As the voice resounded, Lu Ming suddenly felt his body relax and he regained his freedom. Many people were shocked. Who dared to speak to Valley Master Silver Dragon like that? Valley Master Silver Dragon frowned and looked at the sky. In the sky, 2 figures stepped on the air and flew over. It was an old man with a gentle smile on his face. Behind the old man was a middle-aged man. Senior Long Yuanshan. Lu Ming's heart stirred. The middle-aged man following behind the old man was Long Yuanshan. Greetings, Valley Master Yinlong. Many people bowed when they saw this old man. Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Another Valley Master had arrived. The Silver Dragon Valley Master stared at the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and said, What? Do you want to be a busybody? What do you mean meddling in other people's business? This little guy is right. How can my Dragon God Valley treat its disciples like this? It is up to him whether he wants to hand it over or not. To be honest, let's not talk about the fact that this brat did not obtain Emperor Tsong's inheritance. Even if he did, it is up to him whether he wants to hand it over or not. Our Divine Dragon Valley only needs to ensure his growth. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said calmly. What if I forcibly search your soul? The Silver Dragon Valley Master asked. You can give it a try. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master's eyes flashed and a mysterious aura emanated from his body. The Silver Dragon Valley Master looked at the Cloud Dragon Valley Master with a serious expression. After a while, he looked at Elder Hong and asked, Elder Hong, are you sure that this brat did not obtain Emperor Tsong's inheritance? He can't have it because Emperor Tsong is not dead. Elder Hong said. What? The Silver Dragon Valley Master was shocked. Not only him, but everyone present was also shocked. Emperor Tsong was not dead. These 4 words were too shocking and could explain everything. After a while, the scene slowly quietened down. Let's continue. The Silver Dragon Valley Master waved his hand and walked to a chair at the side and sat down. Continue. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master also sat down. Little guy, register your name. The white-haired old man said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded and registered his name before walking down the stage. Then, one by one, they went up to hand over their treasures. Just like that, 2 days and 2 nights passed and the task of handing over their treasures was finally over. Next was the second task, which was to choose one of the 7 dragon valleys to join. An elder from each dragon valley came and set up a counter in the square. Here, each elder represents a dragon valley. If you want to join a dragon valley, go forward and register. Elder Hong pointed at the 7 counters. The 7 counters each had a symbol that represented a different dragon valley. However, the Silver Dragon Valley and the Cloud Dragon Valley were special. The other dragon valleys sent their elders and only the valley masters of these 2 dragon valleys came personally. I want to join the Ice Dragon Valley. Someone stepped forward and walked toward the Ice Dragon Valley. Let me see your spiritual body. The elder of the Ice Dragon Valley said. This young man emitted a cold aura and the faint roar of a dragon could be heard. Yes, it's the Ice Dragon War body. You can join. The elder of the Ice Dragon Valley nodded and registered the young man's information. Senior, I want to join the Purple Dragon Valley. I want to join the Black Dragon Valley. The young men stepped forward and chose the Dragon Valley they wanted to join. Yin Feng naturally joined the Silver Dragon Valley. He Yu had joined the Blood Dragon Valley. Senior, I want to join the Cloud Dragon Valley. A young man walked to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and said respectfully. Unexpectedly, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master shook his head and said, You're not suitable for the Cloud Dragon Valley. Go. Many people were stunned. The Cloud Dragon Valley would not accept them. As long as their spiritual bodies were suitable, the other dragon valleys would accept them. This was because these young men had been tested for their talents and were very good. They were qualified to join the Divine Dragon Valley, but the Cloud Dragon Valley would not accept them. You don't know, right? The Cloud Dragon Valley only has a little over 100 people and is the weakest among the 7 dragon valleys. Naturally, the number of people joining is the least. Also, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master has a strange way of accepting people. He doesn't accept ordinary people and only accepts people based on his mood. A local disciple explained. Accepts based on his mood? Many people were speechless. As expected, a few more people wanted to join the Cloud Dragon Valley but were rejected by the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Lu Ming, which dragon valley do you want to join? Qiu Yingying asked. I don't know yet. Lu Ming shook his head. He had not decided yet. His spiritual body was the Divine Dragon Battle Body. To be honest, he could join any dragon valley. As for his domain, it was the chaotic domain. It would not matter if he joined any dragon valley. However, he had already excluded the Silver Dragon Valley and the Blood Dragon Valley. He would not join these 2 dragon valleys. The remaining dragon valleys were fine. You don't know? Lu Ming, I'll go and register. I want to join the Ice Dragon Valley. Qiu Yingying said. Go. Chapter 1454. Qiu Yingying and Xiu Hao had similar physiques and had joined Ice Dragon Valley. As for the three Yuan brothers, they had joined Red Dragon Valley. Everyone present had joined the 7 Dragon Valleys. This time, there were more than 20,000 people who had entered the Great Emperor Mystic Realm. However, only 12,000 people had come out. More than half of them had stayed in the Great Emperor Mystic Realm forever. 12,000 people. Up until now, other than Cloud Dragon Valley, the other 6 Dragon Valleys each had more than 1,000 people. Only Cloud Dragon Valley had no one. Many people looked at each other. Cloud Dragon Valley was really strange. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master had come personally but had not accepted a single disciple. At this moment, Lu Ming stepped out and walked towards the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. This kid wants to join Cloud Dragon Valley. Yin Feng's eyes flashed. He did not want Lu Ming to join Cloud Dragon Valley. This was because, given his status, he had friends in the other 6 Dragon Valleys. If Lu Ming were to join them, he had 100 ways to kill Lu Ming. However, if Lu Ming were to join Cloud Dragon Valley, it would be troublesome. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master has always accepted disciples based on his mood. I hope he will not accept Lu Ming as his disciple. Yin Feng thought to himself. Around the square, many people looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming had a treasure like the Break Sage elixir on him. Naturally, he would be the center of attention. Senior, I am Lu Ming. I would like to join Cloud Dragon Valley. Lu Ming walked in front of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master and bowed. Joining Cloud Dragon Valley was Lu Ming's final decision. Firstly, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's motto was to be free. Lu Ming liked this very much. Also, Long Yuanshan was in Cloud Dragon Valley. Long Yuanshan's character was not bad. Lu Ming had a good impression of Long Yuanshan. Furthermore, Long Yuanshan and the Cloud Dragon Valley Master had both helped Lu Ming. Therefore, Lu Ming chose to join Cloud Dragon Valley. As for the fact that Cloud Dragon Valley was the weakest, he did not even consider it. He had come to the Yuan continent to cultivate. As long as he had a stable environment to cultivate in, he would be fine. You really want to join the Cloud Dragon Valley? Have you thought it through? The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley smiled and did not reject him directly like the others. Many people's hearts stirred. Could it be that the Cloud Dragon Valley Master was going to take Lu Ming in? Junior has thought it through. Lu Ming said firmly. All right, welcome to the Cloud Dragon Valley. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master smiled and agreed. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming bowed to the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. Little guy, your name is Lu Ming, right? Are you willing to take this old man as your master and become this old man's 9th true disciple? The Cloud Dragon Valley Master spoke again. His words shocked everyone present. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master actually took the initiative to accept Lu Ming as a true disciple. This guy is really lucky. Yin Feng gritted his teeth. If Lu Ming became the Cloud Dragon Valley Master's true disciple, it would be even more troublesome for him to deal with Lu Ming. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master was famous for being protective and his strength was extremely terrifying. Even his grandfather, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master, was wary of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. The other youths present looked at Lu Ming enviously. What kind of honor and opportunity was it to be accepted as a disciple by a Valley Master? Even though the Cloud Dragon Valley was the weakest among the 7 Dragon Valleys, he was still a Valley Master and his cultivation was unfathomable. Lu Ming was also stunned. He had not expected the Cloud Dragon Valley Master to accept him as a true disciple. Little guy, what do you think? If you are not willing, I will not force you. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master said warmly. Disciple Lu Ming greets Master. After pondering for a while, Lu Ming bowed. He had just arrived in the Yuan continent and needed a backer. This would be of great help to his cultivation in the future. Great, ha ha ha. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master laughed when he saw Lu Ming agree. This guy, I don't know what kind of luck he has to be accepted as a disciple by the Cloud Dragon Valley Master. He is just a lowly ant from a desolate island. I don't know what the Cloud Dragon Valley Master sees in him. Some of the local youths were so envious that their eyes turned red and they spoke with disdain. If his talent is not good enough, it is useless to have a good master. He will still be trampled by others in the future. Someone said sourly. Some were unhappy and some were happy. Qiu Yingying, Qiu Hao and the Ruan brothers were truly happy for Lu Ming. All right. At that moment, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master stood up and scanned the crowd. He said, "My disciple might have some treasures on him after entering the Emperor's secret realm. That is his opportunity. I don't care about the competition between peers. If any old man dares to do anything to him, don't blame me for my bad temper." The Cloud Dragon Valley Master had always been a gentle person. However, at that moment, a cold aura emanated from him. The entire square was filled with a terrifying aura. Some of the peak martial royal realm experts felt as if there was a huge rock on their chests and they could not breathe properly. Forget about the break sage pill. Many people laughed bitterly in their hearts. Previously, there were many people who coveted Lu Ming's Xing-breaking elixir. However, the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley was famous for being protective of his own people. Moreover, he was very powerful. Those who coveted the Xing-breaking elixir put aside their thoughts. Compared to the break sage pill, their lives were more important. Lu Ming, no, 9th junior brother, congratulations. We are brothers from now on. Long Yuanshan laughed loudly. Greetings, senior brother. Lu Ming bowed to Long Yuanshan. I am Master's second disciple. You can call me second senior brother. Long Yuanshan laughed. Alright, let's go back to the Cloud Dragon Valley. After saying that, the Cloud Dragon Valley Master stepped into the air and left. The disciple recruitment was not over yet. However, after the Cloud Dragon Valley Master had accepted Lu Ming as his core disciple, he did not want to accept any more and left immediately. 9th junior brother, let's go to the Cloud Dragon Valley. Long Yuanshan grinned and was extremely forthright. He then followed the Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley and stepped into the air. Lu Ming followed closely behind. They were not heading towards the outer valley, but the deep snow mountain. As they walked in the air, snow fell from the sky. At a glance, huge snow mountains rose from the ground and one could not see the end of them. Dragon God Valley, it snows all year round, not stopping for a single day. It's really amazing. Legend has it that there's a terrifying ice dragon sleeping in the depths of the Great Snow Mountain, which caused such a phenomenon. That terrifying ice dragon is the guardian beast of Dragon God Valley. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as a legend came to his mind. Below them, huge snowy mountains flashed past. Suddenly, a huge glacier valley appeared in front of them. This glacial canyon was quite unique. Above it were misty clouds, and snowflakes were falling from the clouds, making the entire glacial canyon look like a snowy wonderland. Yuanshan, bring Ming, to a cave residence. Ming, must be tired after entering the Great Emperor's secret realm. Let's rest first. Chapter 1455. The Cloud Dragon Valley Master was carefree and casual. He left as he pleased and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Lu Ming was speechless. 9th junior brother, Master is like this. He's casual, but he treats his disciples extremely well. Long Yuanshan smiled at Lu Ming and explained. Second senior brother, I heard that there are only 100 disciples in the Cloud Dragon Valley. Is that true? Lu Ming asked curiously. That's right. There are only 120 people in the Cloud Dragon Valley, including Master. The other valleys have a lot of disciples, deacons, and elders. However, there are no elders in the Cloud Dragon Valley. We only have Master and his 9 true disciples. The rest are ordinary disciples. Long Yuanshan said. No elders? Is there only master among the older generation? Lu Ming was even more curious. Yes, because there were only 6 valleys in the Divine Dragon Valley in the past. Each valley had a long history and there was no Cloud Dragon Valley. Cloud Dragon Valley was founded by Master. Long Yuanshan said. Founded by Master. Lu Ming was shocked. He was very curious about this master that he had just acknowledged. Lu Ming knew that it was extremely difficult to establish an independent valley in a large sect like the Divine Dragon Valley. He was afraid that countless people would oppose it. However, the valley master of the Cloud Dragon Valley could do it. He was definitely not simple. 9th junior brother, let's go. I'll bring you to your place of residence. Long Yuanshan said and stepped forward. Lu Ming followed. The Cloud Dragon Valley was huge and spacious, but there were only 100 or so people. After flying for a while, they finally met 2 young men. Greetings, senior brother. The 2 young men bowed when they saw Long Yuanshan. You're welcome. Let me introduce you. This is Master's new true disciple. Long Yuanshan pointed at Lu Ming and introduced. The Valley Master's new disciple? The 2 young men looked at Lu Ming curiously and bowed. Greetings, senior brother. Ah. Senior brother? Lu Ming was stunned. 9th junior brother, they are ordinary disciples of the Cloud Dragon Valley. They address us as senior brothers. Long Yuanshan transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. So that's how it is. There's no need for such formalities. Lu Ming smiled. Go ahead. With a wave of his hand, Long Yuanshan led Lu Ming deeper into the canyon. The deeper they went, the thicker the Yuan Qi became. Of masters and 9 disciples, other than the 2 of us, some are in seclusion, some are cultivating outside, and some are carrying out missions. If there's a chance in the future, I'll introduce them to you one by one. As they walked, Long Yuanshan explained the situation of the Cloud Dragon Valley. Soon, they arrived in front of a huge ice cave. The entrance to this ice cave was tightly shut. Junior brother, this cave is yours from now on. There is a formation at the entrance. I'll teach you how to control it. Long Yuanshan took out a jade talisman and handed it over to Lu Ming. Thank you, 2nd senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists. 9th junior brother, familiarize yourself with it. I estimate that master will summon you in a few days. Long Yuanshan smiled and walked away. Lu Ming picked up the jade talisman and scanned it with his spiritual sense. He memorized the method in the jade talisman. At the entrance, there was a simple formation that only required true origin to control. Lu Ming stepped forward and true origin spread out. With a click, the entrance to the ice cave opened. Lu Ming stepped in. Then, he controlled the formation and the entrance closed. Lu Ming carefully looked around the cave. The cave was huge. There was an ice bed, an ice table, an ice chair, etc. Lu Ming took a closer look and found that something was wrong. This was not ordinary ice, but ice jade. It was crystal clear and emitted a slight chill. Cultivating here could help to temper one's spiritual body. In addition, there was more than one bedroom in the ice cave. There were other ice rooms that were connected by passageways. Lu Ming looked around and found that there were more than 10 ice rooms. One of the ice rooms had a trickle of spring water that did not freeze. Lu Ming was very satisfied with this cave. The heaven and earth origin qi here was several times richer than in the outer valley. Let's count the gains this time. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on the ice jade bed. With a wave of his hand, he took out all the storage rings he had obtained this time. On the way back, Lu Ming just casually counted them. He sorted out the middle-grade origin stones, spirit herbs, spirit weapons, etc. As for the spirit herbs, Lu Ming kept them all in the mountain river diagram for Dandan and Bubbles to eat. Finally, Lu Ming kept the most valuable items in a storage ring. This time, Lu Ming had gained a lot from this trip to the great emperor's mystic realm. Some spirit herbs and refining materials, not to mention sacred herb, ancient heavenly sap tree. Heavenly law stones, more than 200 pieces. Sacred weapons, Lu Ming took out 2 to exchange for contribution points. There were 3 left. One was the black feather wings, another was the shield that Xiao Hao had given him, and the third was a jade bracelet. Lu Ming planned to give it to Xian Yinqing. In addition, there were 3 Emperor Region fruits and 1 Saint Breakthrough pill. Most importantly, Emperor Tsang had given him a storage ring. This was the storage ring of a great emperor. Just thinking about it made Lu Ming's heart pound. It was a pity that he had lost his lightning cauldron. That was a sacred weapon. In Emperor Tsang's chamber, Emperor Tsang seemed to have used the lightning cauldron to suppress the soul extinguisher Dharma King. However, the soul extinguisher Dharma King had obviously recovered more than Emperor Tsang. The 2 of them had entered the depths of the void. It was still unknown who would win this battle. Perhaps Emperor Tsang would never appear again. Therefore, Lu Ming most likely would not be able to get his lightning cauldron back. Fortunately, with Emperor Tsang's storage ring as compensation, Lu Ming felt a little better. Let's see what's in Emperor Tsang's storage ring. Are there any emperor weapons? Emperor pills? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He picked up the storage ring and poured his true yuan into it. Lu Ming was stunned. He couldn't open it. Continue. He gritted his teeth and continued to increase his true yuan, but he still couldn't open it. I'll continue. After a while, Lu Ming gave up. Damn it, there's Emperor Tsang's mark on this storage ring. With my cultivation, I can't break this mark at all. Lu Ming wanted to howl at the sky. He was so depressed that he was about to vomit blood. He couldn't eat the fat meat in his mouth. This reminded Lu Ming of the time when he had just started cultivating and obtained a king's storage ring. He couldn't open it either because he wasn't strong enough. The situation was so similar, but this time, Lu Ming was even more depressed. This was a great emperor's storage ring. He had exchanged his sacred weapon, the lightning cauldron. Lu Ming was unwilling to give up. He tried a few more times, but in the end, he could only give up helplessly. His cultivation wasn't enough to break Emperor Tsang's mark. If he wanted to slowly break it, he wouldn't be able to do it without the cultivation of a saint realm. Lu Ming despised Emperor Tsang for a long time. Since he gave the storage ring to him, why didn't he remove the mark on it? Lu Ming had no choice but to keep Emperor Tsang's storage ring. Then, with a flash, the black wings appeared on his back. Lu Ming was ready to refine the black wings again. In the future, Lu Ming would have to refine the black wings frequently. This way, the power of the sacred weapon could be slowly unleashed. A day later, Lu Ming sacrificially refined the black feather wings again and put them away. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.